Chapter 575, Space Ring. Hey Trash, take a look at this. Level 5 Elixir Pill, the channel's cleansing pill. Wang Xian's cold and disdainful voice rang in Yifeng's ears. Oh my god! It is the level 5 channel's cleansing pill. All 4 of them were refined in such a short time. This is simply amazing! Incredible! This handsome master is simply incredible! In just a matter of a few minutes, he was able to refine 4 level 5 elixir pills without any failures. He is so cool! Alchemy Master! He is the real deal. Oh gosh, I think I have fallen in love with him. He is truly a genius blacksmith and alchemist like no other. The handsome master must be the brightest genius in the entire Yong world. I have just made up my mind to court him forever. At the same time, the voices of a group of infatuated and passionate MT Shui female disciples could be heard in the distance. They gawked at Wang Xian with excitement as if they were obsessed fans of a popular idol. Yifeng stared at the 4 elixir pills in front of him and listened to the astonished voices of the MT Shui disciples. His face turned painfully gloomy. He suddenly felt as if his world had been turned upside down. A blacksmith and alchemy master at the young tender age of his 20s. 2 master-level skills in one person. Is he even human? How is that even possible? How could he believe that this was humanly possible? He was known as the genius that was favored by the gods. But in the face of this man, he was nothing. This was a huge upset for the arrogant and haughty Yifeng. In front of such a genius, they simply weren't in the same league. If you are not making any other requests for refining weapons or elixir pills, please leave now. My shop is too small to accommodate you. Wang Xian spoke coldly to the absent-minded Yifeng. You! Yifeng stared at Wang Xian with his face twisted with anger. Yet he also felt a sense of despair as he wrote the mixed emotions on his face. Let's go, Senior Yifeng! We still have unsettled business to take care of tonight. The disciples of Chang immortal sect who had been standing aside quickly said to the embarrassed Yifeng. With a sullen face, Yifeng turned and left silently. Humph! Mu Wanbai sneered at Yifeng's departing figure. I guess the handsome master has dealt Yifeng such a huge blow that he lost all his senses. I think he is a narrow-minded guy putting on a high and mighty front. How dare he even scream at our sister Wanbai? Humph! Yifeng is just feeling jealous. Compared to this handsome master here, he is simply garbage. No, I mean the handsome master is just too powerful for everyone. His ability is truly unparalleled. Both blacksmith and alchemy master in one. Do you have a girlfriend yet, handsome master? Can I be your girlfriend? I don't mind if you already have one. Shao Qing, are you sexually aroused already? Ignore her, handsome master. Choose me as your girlfriend instead. I have bigger boobs than the rest of them. After the disciples of Chang immortal sect had left, the female disciples of MT Shui started to misbehave and flirt with Wang Xian. But Wang Xian was just so outstanding that it was hard to fault these ladies for throwing themselves at him. If anyone could land themselves such a husband, it would be the pinnacle of their lives. Even Piaolingxue, who had been standing quietly aside, was slightly moved by Wang Xian. With such good looks and incredible refining skills, there was no other man like him in the entire Chang. Sorry to disappoint everyone, but I do not have the intention of getting a girlfriend yet. Now may I request that everybody please leaves their spiritual grass and refinery materials behind and make a note of your request? Do drop by tomorrow again to collect your elixir pills and spiritual equipment. Wang Xian quickly spoke to the crowd of passionate female disciples with a faint smile. I am serious, handsome master! One of the female disciples from MT Shui shouted at Wang Xian with an earnest look on her face. I am closing my shop soon. Please leave your things behind. Wang Xian laughed and shook his head. Stop your nonsense, girls. Just leave your materials and go. Piaolingxue yelled at the group of MT Shui disciples who had lost their usual reserved demure. Okay, great senior sister. Seeing that their great senior sister had raised her voice, the female disciples of MT Shui ended their teasing of Wang Xian. One by one, they left their refinery materials and spiritual grass in front of Wang Xian. 15 requests to refine spiritual pills, among which, 1 request for a level 6 spiritual pill. As Wang Xian watched the female disciples leaving their heaps of spiritual grass, his eyes lit up. These spiritual grasses constituted a great source of dragon energy for him. After they were done placing their spiritual grasses, the empty Shui female disciples happily bid Wang Xian goodbye. Their sweet and lovable looks were so seductive. The onlooking youths who had crowded over to watch the scene were full of envy of Wang Xian. But when they thought about how powerful Wang Xian was with his refining skills, they shook their heads helplessly. How were they even qualified to pit themselves against a competitor like this? How many spiritual stones do we owe you? Piaoling Xue asked Wang Xian gently after the disciples were done with putting down their materials. Just give me whatever spiritual stones you have with you. Wang Xian was obviously in good spirits at the sight of the spiritual grasses. He moved his arm, took out 6 small boyu swords and tossed them towards Piaoling Xue. Piaoling Xue was pleasantly surprised. With a swift gesture, she took out her larger boyu sword and put the small swords into the hilt of the larger one. These are all the spiritual stones that I have. As Piaoling Xue spoke, she lifted her arm, and pieces of spiritual stones started to appear out of nowhere, dropping onto the table. Wang Xian witnessed how the spiritual stones appeared out of thin air. A sign of disbelief flashed briefly across his face, and a thought formed in his mind that made him burn with passion. Space item. Is that a space ring that you are holding? Wang Xian asked with his eyes fixed on the ring in her hand. Yes, this is a space ring indeed. Piaoling Xue nodded. Where can I buy a space ring? Or rather, where can I get a space ring? Wang Xian stared at Piaoling Xue and asked this hastily. A space ring was a spiritual equipment that consists of storage space. It was what Wang Xian had always wanted. With it, he could enjoy the utmost convenience. He would be able to store all the spiritual equipment and elixir pills in it. Moreover, he would need to transport all the resources that he had gotten from Yong world to the real world. With a space item to store the resources, it would save him a lot of trouble. What a surprise to see the existence of a space ring in the Yong world. I must have such a treasure, Wang Xian thought while staring hard at the ring in Piaoling Xue's hand. Oh, this space ring? This is what I got as a reward for coming in second at the Dahong Immortal Sect's Outstanding Young Disciples ranking. They will also appear occasionally at auctions for bidding at a cost of roughly 30 to 50,000 spiritual stones. If you ever come across another space stone, you can refine one yourself as well. Piaoling Xue replied earnestly, seeing how Wang Xian treated the ring with such importance. I see. Well then, Miss Piao, if you ever come across any news on space rings or nether space stones, please kindly let me know. Wang Xian nodded to Piaoling Xue. Don't worry. I will let you know if I come across any news about them. Thanks for the boyu sword, said Piaoling Xue to Wang Xian gratefully. Chapter 576, Big Business. The group left the shop and Wang Xian shuttered the doors soon after. Suddenly, the shop regained peace and silence. Looking at the materials in the room, Wang Xian's eyes beamed with excitement. 15 people have requested to refine level 5 elixir pills. That's the equivalent of 45 sets of spiritual medicine. Based on the rate of 4 elixir pills per set of spiritual medicine, I will get 180 elixir pills. Deducting the 60 elixir pills to 15 people, I will still get 120 elixir pills. One person has requested level 6 elixir pills. I'll get 8 elixir pills. Level 5 elixir pills could increase my dragon energy by roughly 10,000 points. If I have 120, it would be the equivalent of over 1,000,000 points of dragon energy. Level 6 elixir pill give more than 100,000 points of dragon energy. 8 pills would be close to 1,000,000 points of dragon energy. Together, 2,000,000 points of dragon energy won't be a problem. I can even heal my injuries completely. Wang Xian's eyes beamed with excitement. He was getting 2,000,000 points of dragon energy in a single day. If he was lucky, He could raise his level to level 9 soon. Wang Xian's lips curved into a smile as he looked towards the materials for weapons. A total of 33 sets. Among them, there were 4 sets of level 11 materials. In other words, he would be getting 4 level 11 spiritual weapons and 29 inborn level weapons. Time to start refining. Wang Xian took a deep breath. He was exhilarated as he started refining rapidly. Wang Xian was incredibly fast and the materials were turning into elixir pills and weapons at a frenzied pace. As for the additional elixir pills, he consumed them directly to heal his injuries. After he'd finished refining all the materials into elixir pills or weapons, it was already 4 a.m. With a single thought, his attributes surfaced in his mind. Name Wang Xian. Race 5 elements Divine Dragon, able to transform into a human. Level 8, Dragon Energy, 21, 563, 421/100, 000. Superpower, Dominate Marine Animals, ability to rule any marine animals that are lower than your own level. Devour any form of marine animals, for extraction of dragon energy. 5 elements Control. Art of Cultivation, Divine Dragon Transformation. Art of Fire Refining, refine all equipment with the origin source flame. Art of Water Refining, refine all equipment with the origin source water. Battle Techniques, Water Clone, Preliminary, Sword Edge, Preliminary, Instant Shift, Preliminary. I'm still missing over 70 million points of dragon energy to level up. Moreover, a new category of battle techniques has appeared. Looking at his own attributes, Wang Xian pondered them. He would need to consume more than 700 level 6 elixir pills or over 7,000 level 5 elixir pills to gather 70 million points of dragon energy. The amount was a little too huge. However, it would take just a month for him to reach if he was getting more than 2 million points of dragon energy each day. Wang Xian revealed a smile as he went to the 3rd floor to rest. What Wang Xian wasn't aware of was that less than an hour after the 70 to 80 female disciples of MT Shui had returned to MT Shui, all the female disciples of MT Shui knew about a demon-like master who was unparalleled in refining elixir pills and equipment. Those female disciples from MT Shui were introducing Wang Xian to the rest of the disciples as though they were hardcore fans of Wang Xian. A 20-year-old handsome alchemist master and a blacksmith master at the same time. He's the most outstanding young man in Yong world. A demon-like master that is unparalleled in refining elixir pills and equipment, and the Prince Charming of all girls. The most dazzling genius in Yongchang City and definitely the youngest unparalleled master. They weren't stingy on the compliments of Wang Xian, making those female disciples who had not gone with them feel curious and regretful. It was especially so as this master who was unparalleled in refining elixir pills and equipment charged a lot less, regardless of whether it was equipment refining or elixir pill refining. Moreover, this master would make each piece of spiritual equipment based on your requirements. This was a deadly attraction for every single cultivator. Custom-made weapons from a blacksmith master? What price would you have to pay if you looked for another blacksmith master? However, this blacksmith master wasn't charging for workmanship. He would simply be requesting 2 sets of materials. Elixir pills? Other places offered 3 pills while this master offered 4 pills. Never underestimate the value of a single pill. If it was a level 5 elixir pill, the value would be close to 1,000 spiritual stones. The value of a level 6 elixir pill would be even more insane. Some disciples from MT Shui started gathering what they had saved up over time to bring to Wang Xian for refining. On the next day morning, beautiful female disciples walked into the shop shortly after Wang Xian opened it. "Handsome master, is my spiritual sword done?" A female disciple walked to Wang Xian passionately, staring at him with her bright and seductive eyes. "Your name, please?" "Handsome master, I brought 2 customers for you today." The girls smiled radiantly at Wang Xian. "Thank you." Wang Xian looked to the other girls and found them to be stealing glances at him from time to time while conversing softly. "Qinzi. You can call me Qinzi." "Handsome master, you have to remember my name." "Handsome master, I'm here to collect my item." For the entire morning, the stream of people into and out of the small shop didn't break. Moreover, the girls from MT Shui weren't simply here to collect their elixir pills and spiritual equipment. They also brought him lots of customers. This made Wang Xian smile for the entire morning. Master, master! In the evening, when the last female disciple from MT Shui had left, several figures entered. Wang Xian looked up and saw Piaoling Xue and Mu Wanbai. Other than the two of them, there was an old man and a middle-aged man beside them. Ms. Piao! Ms. Mu! Wang Xian smiled radiantly when he saw them stepping in. Without the two of them, his business wouldn't have been as great. I've brought you huge business today. Mu Wanbai smiled at Wang Xian such that her eyes formed a line. Shouldn't you get me something in return? Huh! Wang Xian was taken aback. He turned to the old man and middle-aged men, showed a smile and said, Sure! What a young master in alchemy and blacksmithing! You are really unparalleled in this world. If I hadn't heard from Piaoling Xue personally, I wouldn't have believed it. The old man scrutinized Wang Xian from top to bottom as he spoke. TSK! You are my grandpa! And yet you don't believe what I've said! When Mu Wanbai heard the old man, she pouted and stared at him. Ha ha! The old man chuckled. The next moment, he took out an item, handed it to Wang Xian and said, This is our first meeting. Please accept this token as a gift from our Mu family. Huh! Wang Xian was taken aback. He looked at the box in the old man's hand but didn't accept it right away. I heard from Ms. Piaoling Xue that you wanted a space ring. Our Mu family happens to have a few. This is the one with the largest space that we have. It has the capacity of 1,000 cubic meters, the old man said with a smile. A space ring with 1,000 cubic meters. Wang Xian's eyes lit up. He looked at the old man and asked, May I ask what your conditions are? It's obviously about refining elixir pills and equipment. I hope that for our collaboration, you can give some interest to us. The old man was direct as he chuckled. Chapter 577, Collaboration. Let me be clear, you cheapskate master. This is a collaboration between you and my family. On account of us boosting your sales so much by referring customers to you yesterday, you mustn't act like such a cheapskate towards us anymore. Mu Wanbai told Wang Xian as she came to his side while pointing at him. If my business scale becomes really prominent, I'll make sure to benefit your family greatly. Wang Xian answered with glee as he looked at Mu Wanbai. Speaking of which, Mu Wanbai and Piaoling Xue were his lucky stars. Had it not been for the two of them, he would not be enjoying such brisk business right now. All right, since you've said so. Ha ha! Mu Wanbai nodded with much satisfaction upon hearing Wang Xian's promise. It's a small shop I have with no space to sit around. Nonetheless, please go on, senior. Wang Xian said to the old man without any hesitation as he smiled at the latter and took over the box from his hands. Seeing that Wang Xian had accepted the present from him, the old man broke into an even wider smile. The Mu family would like to have a batch of spiritual equipment and elixir pills refined, the old man exclaimed. A batch? Wang Xian asked. How much are we looking at? He continued while his heart fluttered. 200 portions of materials for level 10 spiritual equipment, 20 for level 11, 200 for level 5 elixir pills and 40 for level 6 elixir pills, the old man replied. In the near future, the spiritual equipment from the Yong Chang cauldron will no longer be of prominent use when its cauldron world descends into the real world. What's more, the other cauldron worlds will soon follow and descend. Hence some of the resources will have to convert into physical ones, the old man continued. Is that so? Wang Xian questioned following the old man's words. His heart skipped a beat. How much longer will it be before the Yong Chang cauldron world descends into the real world? He asked in succession. 2 years at most, if not 1. Could be even shorter otherwise, the old man said to Wang Xian, while the latter listened with a darkened expression. As of now, I still don't know your name, master. May I know which immortal sect you are a disciple of? The old man asked Wang Xian out of curiosity upon seeing the change in his expression. I'm Wang Xian, from the Dahong Immortal Sect. Wang Xian responded up front, for he had no means to hide the facts anyway. What? Wang Xian of the Dahong Immortal Sect? Just then, a gasp came from Mu Wanbai as she asked in utter surprise. Even Piao Lingxue looked towards Wang Xian in complete bewilderment. So you're Wang Xian, Dragon King Wang Xian from MT Fingyu? Mu Wanbai exclaimed loudly as she stared intently at Wang Xian with her jaw lowered. To which Wang Xian looked back at Mu Wanbai before nodding his head. Oh? Is he a renowned master? The old man quizzed as he looked at his granddaughter, stunned. Dragon King Wang Xian from MT Fingyu, who rose to sudden fame. The one who broke through 8 mountain sects single-handedly within a day, and helped to bring MT Fingyu up to 11th placing from 19th. Also, the one to defeat Kong Guanglin with a single strike on the very same day. Despite your current placing as the 20th amongst all disciples within the Dahong Immortal Sect, many are of the opinion that you actually possess the capabilities to come within the top 10. To think that you turned out to be the Dragon King! Rumor has it that the Dragon King's known for being obnoxious, but it appears that you're something of a cheapskate from what I see. Mu Wanbai shrieked as she fixed her gaze on Wang Xian. Is that so? Well, that's something I wasn't aware of. Wang Xian responded with a faint smile. A disciple of MT Fingyu. To think that this master here is also a member of our Dahong Immortal Sect. The old man chimed in while assessing Wang Xian with bouts of curiosity, scrutinizing him from top to bottom. Everyone from the Mu family was also a disciple of the Dahong Immortal Sect, many of whom were amongst the higher management. Given your prowess, master, you're more than qualified to become an elder of the Dahong Immortal Sect. The old man opined as he slipped into deep thought. An elder? Wang Xian uttered in mild surprise. Becoming an elder of the Dahong Immortal Sect was something which had not crossed his mind before. There's only 5 within the entire Dahong Immortal Sect who are blacksmith masters or alchemy masters. Yet you're both, Master Wang Xian. Becoming an elder would be such a breeze for you, the old man explained to Wang Xian. Wang Xian gave it a brief thought before dismissing the idea altogether almost immediately. Becoming an elder of the Dahong Immortal Sect would mean having to come across immortal class figures. To have such an existence paying attention to oneself, and checking up on one's background, would only result in complications very easily. Hence, it was best to avoid gaining the attention of such figures for the time being. Let's not focus on the other worlds for now. Given that the Mu family would like to have so much spiritual equipment, and elixir pills refined, the amount of materials that we're looking at. Wang Xian trailed off while looking at the old man. The old man commented no further when he heard Wang Xian changing the topic. Presently, the Dahong Immortal Sect, Yong Chang Immortal Sect, and Immortal Slaying Sect were very much at ease. Given the millennium of peace enjoyed, many of the higher management figures within the immortal sects had come to establish their own clans, while even more had come to place their own clans as the top priority while relegating the immortal sect to second. Their various immortal class figures paid no heed to such a situation despite their awareness. Even though the senior management each had their own clans outside of the immortal sects, the clans would have to be dismissed and be fully integrated into the immortal sects upon the order from an expert amongst the immortal class figures. For the immortal class figures, such was the prowess and terror they possessed along with their authority. Based on the account from the young lass of my family, I've come to hear of your prowess in the refinement of equipment and elixir pills, master. Hence, should it be all right with you, we'll have 2 portions of the materials for the refining of equipment prepared. We'll also have twice the amount of spiritual grasses needed ready. What do you say? The old man proposed his idea to Wang Xian. While the Mu family did not have their own blacksmith, they did have their own alchemist, who also happened to be a master of the trade. Their alchemist master could only guarantee a success rate of 30% for the refinement of level 5 elixir pills, and 40% for those at level 6. Should Wang Xian be the one to do the refining, the results would no doubt turn out much better. Sure! Wang Xian nodded after a brief hesitation. All right then. Tomorrow, we'll have the materials brought over. The old man brightened up with glistening eyes. After a slight moment of hesitation, he continued, Master, should we be able to increase our future orders of spiritual equipment and elixir pills, can we still stick to the current rates? Sure, Wang Xian consented. Haha, how easygoing and decisive you are, Master. Here's to our amiable collaboration. Amiable collaboration it is. The old man sang excitedly before extending a handshake to Wang Xian. Cheers to an amiable collaboration. Wang Xian nodded with a wide grin. Then we'll disturb you no further. We'll have the materials sent over tomorrow. Thank you for taking the trouble then, Master. The old man smiled radiantly. Sure. Wang Xian nodded in response. We'll take our leave. The old man signaled while waving his hand. He then made his way out with Mu Wanbai and company following behind him. Little did I expect this cheapskate to be so easygoing today. Mu Wanbai chimed cheerfully as she emerged from the shop. We've made a huge profit through this collaboration. Another old man in the company finally blurted out with eagerness. He had remained silent throughout earlier. I've helped our family to save a lot of materials. So what do you say, second grandpa, shouldn't you reward me for that? Mu Wanbai spoke with glee, as her eyes squinted into two crescents. Ha ha! Yes, indeed. I'll be sure to reward you handsomely, little lass. To think it only costs us 2 portions of spiritual grasses. 2 portions of spiritual grasses. When we're back, be sure to contact the other clans. Inform them that we can offer 4 elixir pills with 3 portions of material as the price. By then, I'm sure many of the clans will come over while we refer the refining work over to this master thereafter, and earn the additional portion of materials. Haha, who knows, we might just strike it rich through this opportunity. The old man laughed in joy while the other also gleamed with uncontrollable exhilaration. To the Mu family, it was a huge profit gain for them this time. Upon hearing the words from the second grandpa, Mu Wanbai stood dazed for a moment before returning to her senses. What a sly wily fox he is! What a huge gain! Meanwhile, Wang Xian was also cheering in the shop with equal elation. Chapter 578 Shot to Fame 1. This collaboration was a windfall for the Mu family. Similarly, it was also a windfall for Wang Xian. Moreover, his was an even larger windfall. If Wang Xian was to learn what the 2 old men from the Mu family were thinking, he would be exhilarated instead of being infuriated. 200 sets of materials for level 10 spiritual equipment, and 20 sets of materials for level 11 spiritual equipment. This would mean that I'll be able to get 100 pieces of level 10 spiritual equipment, and 10 pieces of level 11 spiritual equipment. 200 sets of materials for level 5 elixir pills and 40 sets of level 6 elixir pills. I'll be able to get 400 level 5 elixir pills and 80 level 6 elixir pills. Summing them up, that's close to roughly 13 to 14 million points of dragon energy. I might not need a month to reach level 9 after all. When the time comes, this world won't be able to restrain me. Wang Xian lifted his head slightly and revealed a faint smile. Let's finish up the materials for today. 20 disciples from MT Shui requested to refine spiritual equipment, or elixir pills. Although it wasn't as much as the previous day, Wang Xian still reaped substantial benefits. The next day, the disciples from MT Shui collected their spiritual equipment and elixir pills. The potential customers from MT Shui had been completely exhausted. The business of the shop died down once again. Wang Xian sat down on a chair and took a glance into the space ring. Seeing the spiritual equipment in it, he couldn't help but smile. The upgrade of the dragon field requires 1,000 pieces of spiritual equipment and inborn level materials. Soon, I'll be able to collect sufficient materials. When I get back, the Dragon Palace will be able to get a substantial upgrade. I wonder how Shuqing, Qingwei and the rest are doing. Xiao Yu and Ajaya too. Wang Xian sank into deep thought. At the entrance of the shop, Wang Xian was about to receive the second batch of customers. Fuck them! Those scumbags from Antigenleo made us wait in the queue by virtue of their good relationship with Saint Forge Workshop. By the time it reaches our turn, it will probably be a few months from now. The most damning thing would be those scumbags from Mtgenlio creating more troubles for us in the dark. If they instruct St. Forge Workshop to constantly move us to the back of the queue, we really wouldn't know when our turn will come. Now that Yongchang world is about to descend into the real world, we might be facing off against the other 8 cauldron worlds. All the forces are turning their resources into strength in preparation for the upcoming uncertainty. All the equipment and elixir pill refining shops are experiencing explosive growth in business. Several elixir pill shops are even facing issues of sticking out. If we want to get elixir pills or spiritual equipment, we could only find alchemists or blacksmiths to refine for us. The alchemist and blacksmith in our Tianwen sect are truly a waste of our precious resources. Their success rate is too low. We've got to find a master. If only we learned about the outside world a little earlier. Now that we are a step slower, we have to wait a long time even when we want to get prepared. There's a small shop right here. The row of 5 people conversed as they walked. They were clearly in a foul mood. When they walked past Wang Xian's shop, a middle-aged man looked inquisitively at the signboard. Blacksmith master, alchemist master? Could there be masters in a small shop like this? The middle-aged man stared at the shop with doubts as he mumbled to himself. A master? The other 4 men were also doubtful. A small wretched shop like this would have masters? It must be a scam. It's obvious that this is a front for scams. There's no way a master would remain in a wretched shop like this. An old man snorted coldly. Yeah. This shop looks a little too dilapidated. How can there be a master? Fuck. They sure aren't ashamed of lying. A middle-aged man seconded and nodded his head as he continued walking towards it. Let me go take a look. A middle-aged man with long hair said coldly to the other 4 men with him. Old Gu, what's the point? Isn't it obvious that this is just a front for scams? How could there be? I'm just taking a look. We can't find any other blacksmith master, right? The middle-aged man with long hair interrupted his sentence emotionlessly before he continued walking towards the shop. Old Gu, you are grasping at straws. The other middle-aged man frowned. Seeing that the middle-aged man with long hair didn't pay heed to his advice, he followed grumpily. Let's go in too. If this shop is scamming, we will teach them a good lesson and let them know the consequences of scamming others. The middle-aged man said to the other 3 men. Go! The 4 men followed the middle-aged man with long hair into the shop. They looked around and instantly frowned deeply. Hey, kid! Where's the master in your shop? When the group saw that the shop didn't even have places for customers to sit, they were clearly displeased. When they saw Wang Xian sitting in the shop, they shouted. Huh! Wang Xian frowned when he saw the 5 of them stepping in and shouting at him. He replied plainly. Are you guys looking to refine elixir pills or equipment? Hey brother, there's an alchemist master and blacksmith master in this shop? The middle-aged man with long hair suppressed his emotions and asked Wang Xian. Yeah. Wang Xian nodded his head. Are you sure? The other 4 men were suspicious. Please invite that master out. We would like to do business with him. You can speak to me. Are you guys looking to refine elixir pills or spiritual equipment? Wang Xian looked across the 5 people, maintained a smile and asked. You. The 4 men stared at Wang Xian. Even that middle-aged man with long hair frowned slightly. This business concerns over 100 pieces of spiritual equipment and a large number of elixir pills. Can I trouble you to invite that master out? The middle-aged man held his emotions in check as he spoke to Wang Xian once again. I'm the master. If you guys are looking to refine spiritual equipment or elixir pills, you can speak directly to me. Wang Xian answered them. Are you freaking kidding me? A kid like you is a master? Just as Wang Xian completed his words, the other 4 men at the back stared harshly at him. Kid, if you are a master, I'll be a grand master. Freak! You must be courting a beating. Just as I thought, there's no master in this wretched shop. This must be a scam and this kid must be really eager for a beating. The 4 of them exchanged words while staring angrily at Wang Xian. Even that middle-aged man with long hair was pulling a long face. Kid, your joke isn't funny at all. If there isn't any master here, why did you claim to have an alchemist master and blacksmith master on your signboard? It isn't going to end well if you dare to lie to us. The middle-aged man with long hair spoke to Wang Xian in a solemn tone. You don't believe me? Wang Xian raised an eyebrow. Hand me the materials and you will naturally know. Are you still going to lie at this point? You must be thinking of scamming us out of our materials. Is that it? An old man stared harshly at Wang Xian while gradually emitting terrifying aura. If you don't believe me, you can leave. Wang frowned and stared right at the 5 people. His tone had also gradually turned colder. Leave? We will definitely leave. However, I'm going to teach you a good lesson for fooling us before we leave. A bad-tempered middle-aged man clenched his fists tightly as he walked towards Wang Xian. The middle-aged man with long hair didn't attempt to stop him, while he stared harshly at Wang Xian. Their Tianwen sect was also one of the 6 sects below the immortal sects with over 10,000 disciples. As part of the higher management of the sect, they were already in a foul mood before they came in. Yet a kid from a shop was fooling them. This kid was a master? TSK. Even if they weren't killing him, they would want to teach him a good lesson. Chapter 579, Shot to Fame 2. Looking at the middle-aged man who was staring at him with coldness on his face in the shop, he frowned slightly, revealing a sharp, icy gaze. These 5 people not only refused to believe what he said but also spoke with a fiery temper. Wang Xian was slightly furious about that. Slowly, balls of water energy condensed in his hands. Lad, I'll let you know the consequences of cheating us. Raging aura surged around the middle-aged man just like violent tornadoes as he glowered at Wang Xian coldly. 5 blind things! A murderous intent flashed across Wang Xian's eyes as the energy around him thickened. Darn you, how dare you scold us! When the 5 of them heard what Wang Xian said, they exhibited icy killing intent, especially when one of the middle-aged men drew his long blade. Master! However, just before the 5 men from Tianwen sect and Wang Xian struck, a voice suddenly cut the air. Wang Xian froze as he gazed at the door, dispersing all the aura gathered around him. With their eyebrows raised, the 5 middle-aged and old men quickly looked to the doorway. Soon, the quintet revealed shocked looks. There were about 10 men who were at the door, including the old man from yesterday. Master, we're slightly late. The old man swept a look at the 5 Tianwen sect people as he beckoned to the group of people behind him with a smile. Master, these are the materials from the Mu family. Compared to what we mentioned yesterday, the materials have doubled now. As the old man spoke, 4 middle-aged men carried the chests and opened them on the floor. Inside the chests were metals that were level 10 and 11. Apart from that, there were chests of intact spiritual grass too. In a moment, the smell of the metal and the aroma of the spiritual medicine filled the entire store. Doubled? Wang Xian revealed a tinge of surprise in his eyes. He ignored the 5 middle-aged and old men as he walked to the chests. Yes, doubled. All the materials are here. We have 400 portions of materials for level 10 spiritual equipment, 400 portions of materials for level 5 elixir pills, 80 portions of materials for level 6 elixir pills. We only have more materials and not less. If you are not convinced, you can make a count, said the old man to Wang Xian with a smile. There's no need to. Given the reputation of Mu family, I trust you guys. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the 10 big chests with fervent eyes. Since the Mu family got him to refine spiritual equipment and elixir pills, they would not dare to shortchange him. Thank you for your trust. All the information for the required spiritual equipment and elixir pills is here. Just following accordingly will do, said the old man as he handed a manual to Wang Xian. Sure, rest assured that I'll get it done. You may send someone here to collect it 5 days from now. Wang Xian took over the manual with a smile. Great, come directly to us if you have any other requirements. The old man nodded as he swept his gaze at the 5 people beside him. He chuckled and continued. Master, since you have other business in the shop, we'll take our leave now. Okay. Wang Xian nodded. As the group of people from Mu family left, the remaining 5 Tianwen sect people were totally dumbfounded. What had they just seen? They knew the group of people and that old man who came in just now. Mu family, Mu family. The noble family from the Hong immortal sect, as well as the top family in the entire Yongchang world. Without any exaggeration, the Mu family was more compelling than the Tianwen sect. That old man was a budding realm expert, the great elder of Mu family, who took care of all matters in the family. At the same time, he was an elder of the Hong immortal sect. Coming from such a family, an old man with his status actually addressed this young man as Master. Master? When they spotted the chests that contained level 10 and 11 metal and spiritual grasses, their hearts beat violently. Mu family has their own alchemy master, so why would they let others refine pills for them? That's because... The 5 of them exchanged looks with shock and astonishment in their eyes. This young man is a master. A master that even Mu family has to treat with respect. Recalling their behaviors just now, the 5 of them panicked. Master, we... That middle-aged man who had been ready for a fight revealed a flustered look. He looked at Wang Xian as he stuttered with a trembling voice. They were desperately looking for an alchemy and blacksmith master. Now that they finally met one, they almost got into a fight with him. Oh my, this is absolutely... How can there be such a young master around? The 5 of them felt as if they'd been unjust. Since they were the ones with requests, they had to lower their heads with respect at this time. Master, it was our fault just now. We were blinded. We apologize to you, the long-haired middle-aged man quickly said to Wang Xian after taking a deep breath. Yes. It's our fault. We apologize to you. The other 4 hurriedly echoed. A master that even Mu family treated respectfully was not someone who Tianwen sect could afford to offend. Even if they could afford to offend him, they would not want to do it since they needed a favor from him. Looking at them, Wang Xian revealed a hint of a sneer on his face. Get lost now. Master, it's our fault. The long-haired middle-aged man gritted his teeth when he saw the cold face of Wang Xian. He fished out 2 items from his pockets. Master, it was our fault just now. These are our gifts as a token of apology. One of the 2 items was exuding a blazing flame while the other was emitting a cool and icy blue glow. Her? Spiritual flame ball and spiritual liquid ball? Both of them are level 11. Sharp radiance flashed across Wang Xian's eyes as he gazed at those 2 spiritual beads. How many pieces of spiritual equipment and elixir pills do you guys want to make? Without any hesitation, Wang Xian took the 2 spiritual beads. On account of the fact that these 5 people were respectful and even took out level 11 spiritual beads, Wang Xian decided to drop the matter. After all, he would be the one who benefited the most when they were here to refine equipment and elixir pills. Master, thank you for your forgiveness. You're such a magnanimous man. Seeing that Wang Xian accepted the 2 spiritual beads, and hearing his question, the 5 of them were excited as they licked his boots. The arrogance and fiery temper that they had when they first came in were long gone. We want to refine 100 pieces of equipment and 200 odd elixir pills, an old man answered quickly. Each piece of spiritual equipment will take 2 sets of material. For every 3 sets of elixir pills material, you'll get 4 elixir pills. This is the price at my place. Upon hearing them, Wang Xian's eyes gleamed. What? The 5 of them froze for a moment when they heard the quote, and they looked startled. He did not quote a high price, nor was it the market price. His price was simply too low. Master, what are the extra charges? The long-haired middle-aged man asked, trying to contain his excitement. No extra charges except what I mentioned just now. Wang Xian shook his head and replied immediately. Lowering his earnings was a way to obtain more profit. Chapter 580, Shot to Fame 3. The prices Wang Xian was charging were definitely the lowest in the entire Yongchang city. The main reason was largely because his success rate was insanely high. Even Grandmaster class existences wouldn't have a success rate of 100% in refining elixir pills or spiritual equipment. It was especially so for refining elixir pills. An alchemist Grandmaster would at most have a success rate of 40 to 50% while refining level 5 elixir pills. As for refining level 6 elixir pills, the success rate would roughly be at 30%. However, Wang Xian could achieve 100%. In other words, even if Wang Xian had accepted 2 sets of materials for refining elixir pills, his rewards would still be great. This was also the reason why Wang Xian agreed to the collaboration with the Mu family. When the volume was great, he would totally accept a lower price. Therefore, Wang Xian also offered a seemingly exceptional low price to Tianwen sect. Not charging? When the 5 men heard Wang Xian, they were stunned once again. He's not charging? He's really not charging? Are there such good deals in the world? They felt this was a little unbelievable. However, they knew that he wasn't lying to them when they saw boxes of precious materials placed on the floor. He had no reason to scam them either. Master, your charges are even a lot cheaper than the Saint Forge workshop. This? The middle-aged man with long hair looked at Wang Xian and spoke with disbelief. You don't have to worry about the quality of the elixir pills or spiritual equipment. Wang Xian smiled and replied to him. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. We will arrange to send the materials here right away. Thank you, Master, for being magnanimous. After we offended you, you are still willing to do so. Let me apologize to you once again, the 5 of them said gratefully. This was the level of magnanimity that a master should have. Despite them offending Wang Xian just moments ago, Wang Xian was still willing to charge them a really low price. Wang Xian smiled faintly and said, You guys can go prepare the materials. Just send them over when you are ready. If you can, help me publicize my shop. Yes, yes. The 5 of them nodded and added, We will go get the materials ready and will be back soon. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head. He looked to the boxes of materials beside him, waved his arm and sent them to the second floor. The 5 people from Tianwen sect didn't hesitate at all as they headed for the exit right away. This feels unreal. When the 5 men from Tianwen sect left the small shop, they looked at the signboard once again. They felt a little confused and lost. Yeah! That young man is really a master. Moreover, even the Mu family looked for him to refine their elixir pills and spiritual equipment. I wonder if he's the alchemist master or blacksmith master. Is there another master? It has to be. We are lucky that the people from the Mu family were here. If we clashed with the master, the outcome would have been really unimaginable. That master is magnanimous, and we are really lucky. Yeah, we are really lucky. As the 5 of them conversed, they couldn't help but be excited. They would have never expected a small shop like this to really have a master. Moreover, the master was magnanimous. He didn't take offense and agreed to refine elixir pills and spiritual equipment for them. This made the 5 of them greatly impressed by Wang Xian. That's a real master! Let's go and get our materials. Let's go. The master even charges a lot lower than the Saint Forge workshop. It's a blessing in disguise that the bunch of scumbags from Saint Forge workshop rejected us previously. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten such a great deal. The 5 of them headed back towards their sect excitedly. In less than an hour, they came back with several boxes of materials. Master, Master! The 5 of them carried boxes of materials into the shop with some other disciples of Tianwen sect. You can just leave them there. Wang Xian was pleasantly surprised to see them back so quickly as he instructed them. Yes, yes! The 5 of them nodded their heads and instructed their disciples. Master, when will our spiritual equipment and elixir pills be done? The 5 of them rubbed their hands as they asked Wang Xian. Your orders are fewer. I'll refine your materials first. You guys can return to collect in the afternoon tomorrow. Wang Xian looked across the boxes and spoke directly. Afternoon tomorrow? So fast? The 5 of them were shocked once again. Just come back tomorrow and they will be ready. All right, all right. The 5 of them nodded their heads and didn't question further. After exchanging a few more words with Wang Xian, they left the shop. Puff! It's another rewarding day! Wang Xian moved all the materials to the second floor. He couldn't help but feel exhilarated. The materials and elixir pills from the Move family would allow him to gain over 30 million points of dragon energy. As for the elixir pills of Tiamun sect, he would also be able to gain over 6 million points of dragon energy. Together, his dragon energy would reach approximately 40 million. On top of that, he would still get a huge batch of spiritual equipment. This is even more insane than robbing a bank! Wang Xian's eyes stared fervently at the various materials on the second floor. He closed the shop for the day. The spiritual flame ball can be devoured by the Inferno Dragon Ball, while the spiritual liquid ball can be used to nourish the Water Dragon Ball. Wang Xian had 3 Dragon Balls currently. A level 11 Inferno Dragon Ball, a level 10 Wood Dragon Ball, and a level 10 Water Dragon Ball. The level of the Inferno Dragon Ball was the highest. After devouring the level 11 Spiritual Flame Ball, the Inferno Dragon Ball would get a substantial lift. The Wood Dragon Ball was the level 9 Spiritual Wood Ball he obtained on the floating island previously. He had now nurtured it to level 10. The 3 Dragon Balls were of little use to him currently. However, when the Dragon Balls reached the same level as him, the might of the Dragon Balls would be incredible. Wang Xian spent a full 15 hours before completely refining the materials brought by Tiamun sect into spiritual equipment and elixir pills. The boxes of spiritual equipment and elixir pills would definitely draw a frenzied crowd if placed in the underworld. In Chang world, there were also precious items. Master! At noon, the voices of the 5 old men from Tiamun sect could be heard. They are done! Feel free to take them away! Wang Xian waved his arm and the boxes of spiritual equipment and elixir pills flew from the second floor. Subsequently, he walked down while wearing a faint smile. Done! The 5 of them were exhilarated. These elixir pills and spiritual equipment were all exceptionally precious to Tiamun sect. They are done! They are all done! Oh gosh! The spiritual equipment and elixir pills are done! Thank you, Master! Thank you! When they opened the boxes and saw the spiritual equipment and elixir pills, they were elated and thanked Wang Xian loudly. You are welcome. If you can help to introduce customers and send them over, please do so. Wang Xian waved his arms at them and continued. I'm going back to work. Yes, yes. Master. The 5 of them nodded their heads respectfully before turning their fervent gaze back to the spiritual equipment and elixir pills. Haha! Let's go. I was still worried that we couldn't find a master to refine for us. Even if we found one, it might take 3 to 4 months or even 6 to 7 months. Now we got it done in a single day. Our luck is really off the charts. The 5 of them carried the boxes out joyously and loaded them onto a horse carriage. Let's go! The 5 of them shouted happily. Old Ge, take a look at the entrance of Saint Forge Workshop. The scumbags from Mtgenlio are there too. When the horse carriage went past the entrance of the Saint Forge Workshop, a middle-aged man squinted his eyes and saw a group of people before the entrance of Saint Forge Workshop. The middle-aged man with long hair looked over and a thought struck him. That master forgave us and still refines spiritual equipment and elixir pills for us. Our Tiamun sect should also try to repay this graciousness and express our gratitude. Since that master asked us to introduce customers to him, it's only natural that we do our best. Chapter 581 Saint Forge Workshop is indeed trash. 1. Chang would soon descend to the real world, and information about the real world had been divulged in Chang Immortal Sect. But the people and forces in Chang world were not worried about the real world at all. It was just the age of Dharma decline. When they arrived in the real world, they would dominate and roam around without any difficulties. The underworld in the real world might seem like trash, but they were more concerned about the other immortal sects in the rest of the 9 cauldrons worlds. Since they were only part of the 9 worlds, there would be powerful cultivators in the other 8 worlds as well. The people in Yong world would need to be well prepared to face these cultivators. Hence, all the forces and families were making their preparation as soon as the news of Yong world descending to the real world was out. All the families and forces had converted their resources into strength to deal with the real world. Metallic materials were converted to spiritual equipment, spiritual grass to elixir pills. That was the reason why alchemist masters and blacksmith masters became popular figures while the elixir pills and weapons had become the top-selling items in the shops. As the biggest workshop for refining equipment and elixir pills, various alchemist masters and blacksmith masters worked in St. Forge workshop, and their business was unusually hot. Even those pre-ordered spiritual equipment and elixir pills could only be available months later. For the last 2 days, many customers had gathered at the door of St. Forge workshop. At one glance, one would know that all of them came from families that possess relatively great strength in the Yong world. St. Forge workshop is pricey, and even those unknown alchemists are arrogant. Since they cannot take in that much business, we should not let some of our friends suffer while waiting in line for such an unscrupulous shop. The long-haired middle-aged man of Tianwen sect drew a cold smile and murmured to himself. That's right, many people do not know about that master's shop. We should help him to promote his shop. The remaining 4 middle-aged men and elders revealed creepy smiles. The 5 of them exchanged gazes as they grinned at each other. They slowed down their carriage and walked slowly toward the St. Forge workshop. I know everyone can't wait, but you guys need to wait. It will take another 1.5 months before it's your turn. St. Forge workshop is the biggest alchemy and blacksmith workshop in Yongchang City. No other places are comparable to us. But you guys need to wait. When the 5 people arrived at the door, they heard the staff speaking to a few in-charges from various forces and families with arrogance. The people from the various forces and families had twisted expressions, but they did not dare to flare up. After all, they needed St. Forge workshop. Everyone, just queue up and that will do. All it takes is another 1 or 2 months. Don't be anxious. At this time, several middle-aged men told the surrounding crowd this with a calm look. The weapons and elixir pills of Mtizhen Liu are in the process of being refined now. You guys are not in a hurry, but we are, said an old man to that middle-aged man coldly with an awful expression. Haha, better than not waiting in the line. The middle-aged man from Mtizhen Liu chuckled softly as he spoke. Several people turned to the 5 men on the carriage. With lips drawn, he continued. Unlike some forces who can't even get in the line. Her? Upon hearing what the people from Mtizhen Liu said, some of the elders at the side furrowed their brows and peered to the side when they spotted the 5 men from Tianwen sect. Mtizhen Liu and Tianwen sect were enemies, and everyone on the spot knew about that. Haha, the Tianwen sect complained that the waiting time was too long, and said they were not going to refine anything in St. Forge workshop. I would like to see which other workshops can accept such a large volume of orders apart from St. Forge workshop. The staff at the side peered at the 5 men from Tianwen sect and issued subtle warnings to the rest of the forces. The in-charges of the forces had a change in their expression and took in a deep breath. Well, we can wait. Sorry for all the trouble. These are some gifts of appreciation. Several of them fished out some gifts and handed them over to the staff with twisted expressions. The staff of St. Forge workshop nodded gently with broad smiles. Her? At this time, the 5 men from Tianwen sect, who had just arrived, overheard their conversations. All of them revealed a tinge of coldness and disdain in their eyes. Before they could even seek trouble, the other party was already picking on them. Hey, Tianwen sect, where are you heading to? Have you found a master of alchemy and blacksmithing? Before the 5 men from Tianwen sect speak, those middle-aged men from Mtizhen Liu ridiculed them for their misfortunes. Mtizhen Liu and Tianwen sect had been going against each other for centuries. They would not miss any chance of bringing down their opponents. Alchemy master, blacksmith master? Upon hearing their sneers, a strange look surfaced on the faces of the 5 men from Tianwen sect. Of course we did. We even got our spiritual equipment and elixir pills done. Haha, interesting. Several middle-aged men from Entigenleo chuckled as they looked on, scornful of what they heard. You guys just want to act tough. Who else in the entire Yongchang city, other than St. Forge Workshop, has a blacksmith master and alchemy master? Haha, interesting. The staff of St. Forge Workshop sneered upon hearing it. Haha. The 5 men from Tiamon's sect also burst out laughing when they heard their sarcasm. With unbridled looks on their faces, they stared right into their eyes. Don't assume the St. Forge Workshop dominates the entire Yongchang city. You bunch of arrogant brats. Even an insignificant staff member dares to act insolently. Well, when it comes to blacksmithing and alchemy, the St. Forge Workshop is the best in Yongchang city. That staff member narrowed his eyes with his usual pridefulness on his face. Some people are fuming with anger since they can't find alchemy and blacksmith masters. The few middle-aged men from Entigenleo slightly lifted their chins, beaming, as they enjoyed the flustered looks of Tiamon's sect. A few in-charges from other forces shook their heads slowly as they looked at Tiamon's sect. To them, the 5 of them did look as though they had lost their minds out of panic. Is that so? You guys are really confident. Do you think St. Forge Workshop rules the entire market of Yongchang? A fiery-tempered middle-aged man stood up on the carriage immediately, revealing an insolent look. Brazen brats. Does Tiamon's sect need St. Forge Workshop to forge weapons and refine pills for us? Do you think I care? The St. Forge Workshop is just an unscrupulous shop for us. Haha, I'll show you the things we had refined by a master. If not, you guys would think that St. Forge Workshop is the only shop in the entire Yongchang city. Chapter 582, St. Forge Workshop is indeed trash, too. Swish. Caw caw caw. As the bad-tempered middle-aged man spoke, he stood on the horse carriage and waved his arm at it. A gust of strong wind opened the boxes on the horse carriage. With an extremely brazen and unruly expression, he shouted loudly, Do I need St. Forge Workshop, the place for scams, to refine my spiritual equipment and elixir pills? In my eyes, you guys are trash. You guys are trash. The middle-aged man from Tiamon's sect was brazen and arrogant. Standing on the horse carriage while he was on the most prosperous street in Yongchang city, he shouted loudly to everyone that St. Forge Workshop was trash. Few people in the entire Yongchang city would have the guts to say such words. This was because with the strength and capabilities of St. Forge Workshop, people might die laughing because of what you said. Yet, this middle-aged man stood on his horse carriage and opened up the 6 to 7 boxes directly. In these boxes were various pieces of spiritual equipment and elixir pills packed tightly together. This scene truly shocked everyone around. It was especially so for the group at the entrance of St. Forge Workshop. The employees of St. Forge Workshop. The few middle-aged men from Entigenleo. And the people in charge of several other forces. They were astonished to see the various pieces of spiritual equipment and elixir pills on the horse carriage of Tiamon's sect. Their eyes widened and they clearly couldn't believe what they were seeing. That employee from St. Forge Workshop was dumbfounded. His expression changed rapidly and he shouted coldly, TSK! You guys are deceiving yourselves, or trying to deceive us, after finding a batch of spiritual equipment and elixir pills and passing them off as those refined by an alchemist master and a blacksmith master. How interesting! Tiamon's sect is really laughable. Did you guys find a batch of elixir pills and spiritual equipment to prove to us how dumb you guys are? The middle-aged men from Entigenleo remarked sarcastically. Hee hee. You guys can choose not to believe us. That's as expected as you guys are too arrogant. The middle-aged man with long hair looked across the crowd coldly. In the end, his eyes fell on the few forces standing by the side. Our Tianon sect isn't free and silly to that extent. These were refined by an alchemist master and blacksmith master we found yesterday. They can be found in a shop a short distance away. The prices they are charging are also a lot lower than the St. Forge Workshop. Huh! The leaders of several forces frowned instantly, and were clearly hesitating. Do you really mean it? An old man asked the middle-aged man with long hair. If we are lying to you guys, may our Tianwen sect be annihilated, the middle-aged man with long hair replied. Huh! 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 The reply from the middle-aged man with long hair shocked the entire crowd. A deadly vow like this wasn't to be joked about. Is there really a shop with an alchemist master and blacksmith master? Surprise beamed in the eyes of that old man as he pursued it further. Are you guys still thinking that I'm joking? Let me bring you guys there. Once you are there, you guys will know St. Forge Workshop is a pile of trash, the middle-aged man commented solemnly. In that case, I'll be troubling you. The in-charges of several forces were excited and greeted the middle-aged man with long hair. Ha ha! Let's go! The 5 men from Tianwen sect laughed proudly, turned their horse carriage around and headed towards Wang Xian's shop. The leaders of several forces followed behind without any hesitation. Other than our St. Forge Workshop, which other shop in Yongchang City would have an alchemist master and blacksmith master? This couldn't be possible. Those people from Tianwen sect must be up to something. The employees of St. Forge Workshop were extremely gloomy. After seeing the crowd that left, they reported to the shop immediately. Let's go take a look. The group of middle-aged men from MT Jinliu exchanged glances and were clearly suspicious of the whole incident. Let's follow them and see what tricks they are up to. Let's go. A group followed behind the 5 men from Tianwen sect. Hee hee. We have brought huge businesses for that master this time. If news of master's shop was to get out, would there still be a St. Forge Workshop? As compared to the master's shop, it's clear that they are overcharging the customers. That's right, that's right. The 5 men from Tianwen sect grinned. Wang Xian's shop was less than 1,000 meters away from St. Forge Workshop. In less than 3 minutes, the crowd had arrived at the entrance of the shop. Come, follow us. The 5 men from Tianwen sect jumped off the horse carriage and spoke to the people in charge of several forces behind them. Huh! The group of 7 to 8 people looked across and was stunned. They looked blankly at the shop the 5 men had entered. Would this be the shop of a master? That old man opened his mouth in shock. Let's go in now. A middle-aged man hesitated for a moment before following the 5 men from Tianwen sect. Master, master. When the 5 men from Tianwen sect entered the shop, they didn't see Wang Xian. They immediately shouted for him. What's the matter? At this moment, Wang Xian was refining elixir pills. Master, we have brought you some customers. Would you like to meet them? The 5 men from Tianwen sect greeted him respectfully. Oh? Bring them to the 2nd floor. He wasn't done with the elixir pills before him and thus couldn't leave the 2nd floor. Yes, yes. The 5 men from Tianwen sect nodded their heads. They turned to the in-charge of the several forces, smiled and said, Follow us to the 2nd floor. Huh! The people in charge of the several forces looked around the shop and frowned deeply. They looked at the people from Tianwen sect and were a little curious. Among the people from Tianwen sect, there was a budding realm expert. Yet he was still being so respectful a while ago. In the entire Yongchang world, other than the immortals, only a master was deserving of such respect. The 7 to 8 of them had no hesitation as they followed the 5 men from Tianwen sect to the 2nd floor. Isn't this a little too rundown? Why would a master be? With questions in their mind, the group headed to the 2nd floor. However, they were instantly shocked by what they saw on the 2nd floor. It was still roughly the same 30 square meters of space. What could they have seen? There were various boxes filled with various materials. A box full of level 11 metals, boxes of level 6 spiritual medicines. This deeply shocked them. Each of them was the in-charge of one of several forces in Yongchang world. Although they might not be among the elite forces, they were definitely not weak. However, if one was to ask them to take out such an amount of materials, they wouldn't be able to do so. Yet, they were placed casually in boxes on the 2nd floor. These materials were from the Mu family. Don't speak and wait for the master to complete his refining. The 5 men from Tianwen sect were pleasantly pleased when they saw the group behind them dumbfounded by what they were seeing. The crowd looked towards the master in the middle with shock and awe. However, Their eyes widened once again as disbelief overwhelmed them. Chapter 583 St. Forge Workshop is Indeed Trash 3. A young man, who could easily pass as a juvenile, was spotted in the center of the room. At this moment, he was refining elixir pills at a rapid speed. With compelling art of water refining, his arms were swinging fast in front of him. Before him and the rest were elixir pills forming at an amazing speed. Each pill contained an immense amount of energy. They were familiar with this type of energy as it came from level 6 elixir pills. Level 6 elixir pills could significantly enhance the strength of Dan realm experts. However, only master-level alchemists could refine level 6 elixir pills. Form! Wang Xian pretended to be someone great as he let out a bellow while elixir pills quickly formed before him. Done! He yelled again when 4 elixir pills were formed amid a faint glow. Instantly, the room was filled with the aroma of medicine. Everyone gasped involuntarily. Level 6 elixir pills! Level 6 elixir pills! Master! He's a real master! The various in-charges could not help but narrow their eyes as they revealed a surprised look. This young man looked too young to be an alchemy master. He was the master that even Mu family had handed over their materials to for refining elixir pills. A respectful look surfaced on everyone's faces. Who wants to refine spiritual equipment, or elixir pills? With an arm swing, Wang Xian placed the 4 elixir pills in a jade container within a chest. They noticed that the jade container was already filled with all kinds of elixir pills. Master, we would like you to refine elixir pills! One by one, the in-charges from the various forces turned fervent and spoke immediately. Do you know the price? Wang Xian stood up and said. Price? All of them froze for a moment before they turned to the 5 Tianmun sect people. 2 sets of material for 1 piece of spiritual equipment. 4 elixir pills for 3 sets of elixir pills material. No other additional fees, said the 5 men from Tianwen sect to the in-charges as they slightly lifted their heads. What? Gosh! That's so cheap? How is this possible? It's much cheaper than St. Forge Workshop. All the in-charges were stupefied as they widened their eyes with looks of disbelief on their faces. Yes, this is the price. Bring your materials over if you want the service. I'll get all your spiritual equipment and elixir pills ready within half a month, said Wang Xian indifferently. This? Master. Great. We'll bring over the materials now. Master, you offer such an affordable service. You're a great master that St. Forge Workshop can't even be compared to. The in-charges of various forces were going crazy. Damn, compared to St. Forge Workshop, this master was not only someone great, but a saint. They could save at least 60,000, or up to hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones as compared to St. Forge Workshop if they handed the materials to this master. Comparing the two of them, St. Forge Workshop was just none other than an unscrupulous shop. Hee, how can we compare you to St. Forge Workshop? St. Forge Workshop is absolute trash in front of you, the master. The 5 men from Tianmun sect immediately licked his boots. St. Forge Workshop? Wang Xian turned to the crowd as he recalled his last visit to St. Forge Workshop. When he thought of the 2 masters, Xuanhua and Qingming, coldness flashed in his eyes. He remarked plainly, St. Forge Workshop is indeed trash. At this time, people from MT Zhenliu, an alchemist and that staff member from St. Forge Workshop who was following behind, stepped into the shop together. They were looking around with disdainful looks. Such a small shop like this could actually house a master? What a joke! The alchemist from St. Forge Workshop ridiculed. What a trashy shop! What master? The several middle-aged men from MT Zhenliu mocked. The St. Forge Workshop is indeed trash. At this time, an impassive voice came from the 2nd floor, which darkened the expressions of the staff and the alchemists from St. Forge Workshop. Who dares to badmouth our St. Forge Workshop? Do you wish to die? Without any expression, the alchemist of St. Forge Workshop shouted to the stairs. He he. Upon hearing the voice from downstairs, Wang Xian chuckled coldly. Chase them away. Those who want to refine equipment and elixir pills, bringing over the materials will do. Yes, master. The in-charges immediately spoke with respect. Wang Xian nodded and continued with his work. The various in-charges and the 5 men from Tianwen sect exchanged gazes as they walked down the stairs. Which ignorant dog is yelling in the master's shop? One of the in-charges bellowed coldly. Who are you guys? How dare you say the St. Forge workshop is trash? Are you seeking death? The alchemist of St. Forge workshop did not recognize the group of people as he stared daggers at them with cold eyes. However, the staff member of St. Forge workshop and the few middle-aged men from St. Forge workshop were taken aback. So what if I said St. Forge workshop is trash? Trying to stop people from commenting when you're indeed trash? Immense aura began to surge around the in-charges of several forces. At this moment, they totally disregarded the St. Forge workshop. Just now, they had really needed help from St. Forge workshop. But even a staff member from St. Forge workshop dared to show them attitude and act brazenly. They had already stomached their anger for very long. If not for the fact that they required help from St. Forge workshop, why would they even swallow this? Now that they had found a master who offered a more affordable price than St. Forge workshop, and a shorter waiting time, why would they give face to an insignificant alchemist? Or even to an employee? They were in charges of the various forces. As everyone spoke, they walked down the stairs with icy cold eyes, glowering at the 2 people from St. Forge workshop with rage. We said St. Forge workshop is trash, and you asked us if we're looking for our deaths? An old man swept his expressionless eyes at the 2 of them, exploding an immense amount of aura and oppression that aimed straight at them. What? You people. The alchemist of St. Forge workshop had a huge change in his expression as he looked at them in fear. Hand over the things that we gave you, brat. The old man fixed his eyes on the staff member disdainfully. You people, don't you want your equipment and pills from St. Forge workshop? You guys. The eyes of the staff widened with astonishment as he growled with an awkward look. The trashy St. Forge workshop? Damn you, the elixir pills and spiritual equipment over here are much cheaper than you guys. Why should we go over to your place? A middle-aged man could not be bothered as he screamed at them. Get out of here now, and don't taint this place, trash from St. Forge workshop. You people, you people. The alchemist and the staff member of St. Forge workshop paled as they looked at them with surprise. How could they say such things to St. Forge workshop? Why did their attitude change so quickly? Chapter 584, Famous Throughout Yong Chang, 1. When the alchemist and employees of St. Forge workshop walked out bitterly from the shop, they were a little out of sorts. As an alchemist of the St. Forge workshop, his standing in Yongchang's city wasn't any inferior to a half-step to budding realm expert. Yet, they were chided moments ago. And they were calling St. Forge workshop trash? Facing the confrontational group who wasn't willing to show him any respect, the alchemist of St. Forge workshop walked back to St. Forge workshop with a long face. TSK! Arrogant scumbags! Do they really think we could get our spiritual equipment and elixir pills refined without your St. Forge workshop? An old man snorted coldly. He looked at the middle-aged man beside him and said, Let's go back now and get our family to prepare the materials for the master to refine. We've got to get back too and ask our families to prepare the materials. Go! The in-charges of several forces returned to their families and sects rapidly. They were burning with excitement and wanted to bring the materials over as soon as they could. Considering the favorable prices the master was charging, the entire Yongchang city might flood here if other forces learned about it. They had to get their materials to the master before the rest so they could get their products as soon as possible. Hee hee! When the group from Tianwen sect saw them leaving in a hurry, their lips curved into a smile. They smirked at the group from Antigenlio and commented, A bunch of dimwits! As they finished their words, they boarded their horse carriage and headed back towards their sects with greatly improved moods. The few middle-aged men from Antigenlio were completely stunned. They looked at the group of forces that had left with astonishment as their expressions changed rapidly. What just happened? What's happening? A small shop like this. Could it be? Could it be? The group of middle-aged men from Mtgenlio stared at the shop before their eyes and were hesitating. Why don't we go in and ask? A middle-aged man hesitated for a moment before saying this to the other few men. Go. Let's get in. The few middle-aged men walked into the small shop with lots of questions. Fuck that dirty St. Forge workshop. As compared to this master, they are overcharging too much. They are trash. However, the few middle-aged men walked out of the shop furiously in less than 10 minutes. They were still feeling a little shock, but anger was overwhelming them. I finally understand why those forces are saying St. Forge workshop is trash. As compared to this master, they are seriously overcharging us. Oh gosh! We have lost so much. The group of middle-aged men were shivering with anger. They were indeed closer to St. Forge workshop. However, they didn't get any preferential price for refining spiritual equipment or elixir pills this time despite having better relationships. Instead, they even forked over 40,000 spiritual stones to bribe the two masters of St. Forge workshop. This allowed their orders to be fulfilled first and pushed Tianwen sect all the way to the back. Yet, they would have never expected the prices of this small shop to be so cheap. If we had asked this master to refine our spiritual equipment and elixir pills, we would have saved at least several hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones. Fuck! We are talking about several hundreds of thousands here. The face of a middle-aged man was contorted from anger. Why don't we bring our materials over and cancel our order from St. Forge workshop? Cancel our order from St. Forge workshop? But we have given the two masters 40,000 spiritual stones. Moreover, if we do this, would it be? There's nothing to feel bad about. Those two bloodsuckers. We have a good relationship with them because we have been offering gifts to them from time to time. As long as we have spiritual stones, we don't have to worry about not finding an alchemist master or blacksmith master. Yeah, you are right. Let's go and bring our materials over. Even if we can't get our 40,000 spiritual stones back, we could still save 100,000 spiritual stones. The group from Mtgenlio exchanged glances and made their way towards St. Forge workshop immediately. Several middle-aged men arrived at the backyard of St. Forge workshop. They looked around and saw several forces and customers collecting their spiritual equipment and elixir pills or delivering materials. At this moment, that alchemist was conversing softly with that employee and Master Xuanhua. Master Xuanhua frowned. We don't have to pay attention to him. In the entire Yongchang city, none of the forge workshops or elixir refining shops are a match for our St. Forge workshop. TSK. If those forces aren't going to refine their items here, ask them to get lost. Our St. Forge workshop isn't lacking their business, Master Xuanhua said to them domineeringly. He looked across the few forces in the courtyard with a sense of superiority. Yes, Master. Those few forces are really courting their own demise. In the future, we will reject all their requests to refine elixir pills and spiritual equipment. Recalling the attitude from the in-charges of those forces, the alchemist remarked coldly. Master Xuanhua waved his hand, lifted his head proudly, and didn't say another word. Master Xuanhua! At this moment, the group of middle-aged men from Mtgenlio shouted. Huh! Master Xuanhua turned around, saw the group, and showed a faint smile. Mtgenlio was a respectable sect, and this group of middle-aged men knew how to maintain relationships by sending gifts. Hi guys, we have received the materials from Mtgenlio. Rest assured. In half a month, we will be done with your request, Master Xuanhua said to the few middle-aged men with a smile. Master Xuanhua, we would like to apologize to you, a middle-aged man from Mtgenlio said coldly upon seeing the smile on Master Xuanhua's face. This was the first time he was so cold to a master. Master Xuanhua, we have changed our minds suddenly and would like to take back our materials. Master Xuanhua, can you guys refund us our fees for workmanship? Huh! Master Xuanhua was shocked to hear him. He frowned and asked, "What does MT Jinliu mean by this?" "Our MT Jinliu encountered some issues and will have to take back the materials. Please refund the workmanship fees of 70,000 spiritual stones. As for the rest, we aren't going to pursue it." The middle-aged man from MT Jinliu spoke again. Master Xuanhua was clearly displeased by what he heard from the middle-aged man. He said, "To rush your spiritual equipment and elixir pills, we have lost substantial business. Now that you guys are saying you want a refund, this isn't too appropriate, right?" Master Xuanhua had thought that the previous few forces had left out of anger, as they had to wait too long. "Master Xuanhua, we understand our request is a little unreasonable, but I hope you will agree." The group of middle-aged men wouldn't want to offend the Saint Forge workshop and thus spoke in a conciliatory tone. "Our losses have to be compensated after all. We can return the materials to you, but you won't be getting back the fees for workmanship." Master Xuanhua shook his head as he answered. Upon hearing Master Xuanhua's reply, the group of middle-aged men from MT Jinliu instantly turned solemn. "Master, we are already foregoing the 40,000 spiritual stones we have given you guys." Chapter 585, Famous throughout Yong Chang 2. The middle-aged men from MT Jinliu were a little pissed off. Without that young master's shop, they would not think that they had lost out a great deal by having Saint Forge Workshop refine spiritual equipment and elixir pills for them. However, it was a stark contrast between the two workshops with that young master around. Saint Forge Workshop charged way too much. The two of them could not be compared at all. None of them were willing to pass their jobs to Saint Forge Workshop anymore. Yet, the workshop disagreed about refunding the fees for the workmanship when they asked for their materials and fees back. This infuriated the few middle-aged men from MT Jinliu. "Guys, I don't know what you're thinking, but this isn't right. The spiritual stones that you have given to us were on the condition that we would speed up your job. This works the same as the workmanship fees. Now that you've changed your mind, it is natural that we recoup some losses. If you think this isn't appropriate, you can continue with the job. We'll deliver the items to you on time. Otherwise..." Master Xuanhua spoke with great awe as he swept his cold gaze across the few of them. As a master, the #1 blacksmith master in the largest workshop of Yongchang City, and one of the bosses of Saint Forge Workshop, he had the right to be prideful. He had the right to disregard MT Jinliu. Looking at the domineering and prideful Master Xuanhua, the middle-aged men from MT Jinliu grimaced as they darkened their faces, exchanging looks with one another. "Continue our job in Saint Forge Workshop? Master Xuanhua, we're not that silly," a middle-aged man remarked coldly. "Her? What do you mean by that? Watch your mouth, people." Upon hearing the furious tone from that middle-aged man, Master Xuanhua's blood boiled at the same time. No one could ever challenge a master's temper. "What do we mean? Master Xuanhua, if a workshop requires 2 sets of materials for a piece of spiritual equipment, 3 sets of materials for 4 elixir pills, no other spiritual stones charges, what would be our choice?" "Why, Master Xuanhua? Saint Forge Workshop is overcharging us, and you don't even allow us to switch to another shop?" said a middle-aged man from MT Jinliu with cold eyes as he looked at the furious Master Xuanhua. "Her? Excuse me? What did you say?" Master Xuanhua was slightly stunned by his words as he narrowed his eyes. "What are they talking about? How can there be such a cheap workshop around? Could such an affordable place be around? And it's refined by a master?" A few forces and customers around the area were keeping constant attention over here when they overheard the argument. Upon hearing the middle-aged man, everyone was caught by surprise. "We already made it clear. The Saint Forge Workshop charges too much as compared to another master's workshop. It's only common sense for us to choose the cheaper one. Thus, we'd like Master Xuanhua to return our materials and refund our workmanship fees," the middle-aged man said impassively once again. "Refining a piece of equipment only needs 2 sets of materials and 4 elixir pills for 3 sets of materials. No other spiritual stones charges. Where can you find such a good deal?" Master Xuanhua's expression slowly twisted. Haha, that's the truth. A middle-aged man revealed a cold smile. He raised his voice. Master Xuanhua, we would like to take back our materials and workmanship fees. Please return them to us. Otherwise, this will ruin our friendship. You guys. Upon seeing the middle-aged men from Mtijinliu standing firm against him, Xuanhua darkened his expression as he stared at them with flickering radiance in his eyes. The middle-aged men from Mtijinliu had decided to confront Master Xuanhua. This time, they did not give in at all. Fine. If you are taking back all your things this time, I, Xuanhua, will not refine anything for you even if you kneel before Saint Forge Workshop next time. Master Xuanhua grimaced and spoke in a low voice. Haha, Master Xuanhua, rest assured that Mtijinliu will never be back to Saint Forge Workshop for any items. We'll not cross our paths in the future. Haha, goodbye. The middle-aged men from Mtijinliu burst out a clap of laughter as they headed outside. Their actions embarrassed Master Xuanhua even more. All the forces and customers fixed their quizzical eyes on the people from Mtijinliu. Why did they dare to fall out with Saint Forge Workshop? Refining a piece of equipment only needs 2 sets of materials and 4 elixir pills for 3 sets of materials. No other spiritual stones charges. Is this true? Radiance glistened in an elder's eyes as he stared at the figures from Mtijinliu. With a slight hesitation, he immediately chased after them. The rest of the forces and customers hurriedly caught up with them. If what those people from Mtijinliu said was true, they could save hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones when they refined equipment and elixir pills. This is impossible. How can there be such a low price? There's not much profit at all. Master Xuanhua clenched his fist with disbelief. At such a rate, a workshop would not possibly earn many spiritual stones except for some materials. This was hard for him to believe, and he looked dreadful with a constant mix of expressions. The surrounding workers, blacksmiths, and alchemists were full of surprise as a bad feeling suddenly shrouded over them. In less than 5 minutes, those customers and forces who had just left returned to the workshop with a surprised look. Master Xuanhua, we're taking back our material. Sorry! A force that had yet to make his payment announced frankly. Master Xuanhua, I'm sorry. We're going to another place. Look, we did not bring any damage to your business. Can you return our materials and spiritual stones? Another force who had paid asked Master Xuanhua. Master Xuanhua. One by one, the customers and forces requested that their spiritual stones and materials be returned, as they would not require the services of Saint Forge Workshop. Seeing this, Master Xuanhua was stupefied and his heart raced violently. All the staff in Saint Forge Workshop were plunged into darkness. The sky seemed to have fallen on them, but why did this happen? What was the reason? In a shop not far away from Saint Forge Workshop, Wang Xian looked at the forces who were bringing him chests of materials. His eyes glistered. Hearing that they had come over from Saint Forge Workshop, Wang Xian's lips quirked slightly. Saint Forge Workshop, today's just the beginning. It won't take long before you guys fall. You'll pay an unbelievable price for what you guys did the other time. And those young men, be patient. Wait for me. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the chests of material, while he was filled with fighting spirit. It won't be long. It won't be long. Soon, soon. This world would not be able to contain him. At that time, he would be fearless against immortals and gods. Roaring through Yong Chang. Chapter 586, Famous throughout Yongchang 3. On fire. On fire. A small shop in Yongchang City was the focus of all attention. There was an alchemist master and a blacksmith master in the smallest shop within the city center. The master only required 2 sets of materials for refining spiritual equipment. For refining elixir pills, he would give you 4 pills for 3 sets of materials. Moreover, he wouldn't charge any spiritual stones. News of his exceptionally low pricing for refining had spread throughout Yongchang City within 3 days. All the forces and customers were in a frenzy. During this period, when various forces were converting their resources into strength, they swarmed the shop. "Master, these are our materials. We would like to ask the master to refine them as soon as possible. We would be truly grateful." At this moment, forces after forces carried boxes of materials into the shop. They were making requests to Wang Xian while still being a little bewildered by the pricing. "Just leave it there. Come back in half a month to collect," Wang Xian said plainly to them. After which, he went to the second floor to continue his refining of elixir pills. Although the master was acting a little nonchalantly, they didn't say another word. Instead, they were respectful and headed for the exit. "This master is truly terrifyingly young," an old man exclaimed in shock. "Yeah. Rumor has it that this master is only 20-something years old. Moreover, there isn't a second person in the small shop. Some bold guesses are saying that this master is unparalleled in refining elixir pills and equipment." Unparalleled in refining elixir pills and equipment? Would there really be such an incredibly talented person in this world? Several people sighed emotionally as they returned to their families. It wasn't just this small shop that became the craze. At the same time, the news of a young alchemist master and blacksmith master that was unparalleled in refining elixir pills and equipment had attracted equal attention. Although many people weren't certain, the news had started circulating within Yongchang City. A 20-plus-year-old young man was both an alchemist master and a blacksmith master. This inevitably made many feel that the world was a little crazy. "Together with this batch of materials, I will be able to increase my dragon energy by 60 million points. I'm lacking approximately 10 million more before my level will increase to level 9. Wang Xian's eyes beamed as he looked at the boxes of materials. He smiled faintly and started refining rapidly. While increasing a terrifying amount of dragon energy, he was also forging various kinds of spiritual equipment. Based on his rough estimate, the materials in the shop would allow him to forge more than 1,400 pieces of spiritual equipment, among which there would be 150 pieces of level 11 spiritual equipment. This was an insane number. At this very moment, within Saint Forge Workshop a short distance away, Master Xuanhua, Master Qingming and a group of alchemists and blacksmiths were gathered in a resting room. The atmosphere of the room was extremely heavy. Two masters sat there solemnly without moving an inch. "Master!" At this moment, the door to the room was pushed open. An employee wiped away the perspiration on his forehead anxiously. "Master, the people from the Zhou family have just brought their materials to that small shop," the employee said with great care. Puff puff. Master Xuanhua breathed deeply and his face was incomparably gloomy. Master Qingming, who was beside him, was equally bitter. He looked at Master Xuanhua and asked, "Our Saint Forge workshop has zero business left. Could it be we are just going to sit here?" Not a single business partner was left. Not a single one. For the Saint Forge workshop, this felt a little unbelievable. As the largest equipment refining workshop and elixir refining shop in Yongchang City, they had never expected this to happen. Yet, they truly had no business left. It was all because of that small shop, and it had started 3 days ago. Since 3 days ago, their business had experienced a meteoric dive. And now, the Saint Forge workshop had zero business left. Who's the one behind that small shop? How could he possibly set such a low price for refining elixir pills and spiritual equipment? Who the hell is he? Xuanhua growled and his voice reverberated across the room. We have not seen him previously either. All we know is that he's an extremely young master. Some say that he is only in his 20s and is unparalleled in refining elixir pills and equipment. That employee stammered while answering. We can't let this continue. Let's go. Let's go take a look at what this shop is trying to do. Master Qingming stood up and spoke with a gloomy expression. During the period where various large forces wanted to refine elixir pills and spiritual equipment, a shop popped up from nowhere. Not only did it now maintain the market price, but it also charged extremely low prices for refining elixir pills and spiritual equipment. This was a huge blow to the entire market and the Saint Forge workshop. Initially, the Saint Forge workshop was still considering whether they should increase their pricing. Now, it would be great if they even had business. No, we shouldn't go there on our own temporarily. Now isn't the right time. A ruthless look flashed in the eyes of Master Xuanhua. He said, "That small shop is going against all the forge workshop in Yongchang world. Let's contact all the other shops and the forces behind them. I don't believe that the small shop would dare to go against the entire Yongchang. At that time, with our strength, we will slaughter that brat." Master Qingming squinted his eyes upon hearing Master Xuanhua. He replied, "All right. We will spare his life for a few more days. He has now encroached upon the interests of all the elixir pill shops and weapon shops in Yongchang City. Unless he is an immortal. Otherwise, he will definitely be dead." The words of the two masters sent a chill down the spines of all alchemists and blacksmiths in the room. Yongchang City strongly restricted killing. However, the restriction was on the open front. If you could assassinate someone in the dark without alarming the enforcers, it wouldn't be a problem. However, their faces turned hideous soon after. The appearance of that small shop had broken their rice bowls. As the saying goes, to cut off one's wealth is to kill one's father. He had to die. At this very moment, it wasn't just the Saint Forge workshop. Other elixir pill shops and equipment forge workshops were also thinking hard about a countermeasure. In the end, they came up with a uniform solution to erase that small shop's existence. Wang Xian wasn't aware that his low pricing for refining elixir pills and spiritual equipment had completely encroached upon the interests of some people in the entire Yongchang City. Even if he knew, he would be fearless. Soon, he was going to level up. Puff! Another day had passed. Wang Xian took a deep breath and rubbed his eyes softly. He had been refining elixir pills for 4 days and nights straight and had converted all the spiritual medicine brought by various forces into elixir pills. Name: Wang Xian. Race: 5 elements divine dragon, able to transform into a human. Level: 8, dragon energy, 87, 563, 421/100, 000,000. Superpower: dominate the marine animals. Ability to rule any marine animals that are lower than your own level. Devour any form of marine animals for extraction of dragon energy. 5 elements control. Art of cultivation, divine dragon transformation. Art of fire refining, refine all equipment with the origin source flame. Art of water refining, refine all equipment with the origin source water. Battle techniques, water clone, preliminary sword edge, preliminary instant shift, preliminary. Just 10+ million more. Just 10+ million more. After consuming all the elixir pills, Wang Xian took a glance at his attributes and was clearly excited. Oh right. Mentor, you asked me to return once a week. I should be heading back today to take a look. Chapter 587, Great Waterfall Water Shockwave. Let's see if I can enter into level 3 and 4 of the Scriptures Depository this time round. I am a lot stronger now than I was a few days ago. Wang Xian moved swiftly on his sword towards Mt. Fingyu. Compared to a few days ago, the dragon energy in Wang Xian had increased to over 80 million points. This was 3 to 4-fold more energy than he had days before. Wang Xian was unsure of how strong his actual strength was right now. But he was confident that he would have easily killed Emperor Qi if he were to fight him again right now. Upon reaching Mt. Fingyu, Wang Xian saw a group of Mt. Fingyu disciples working on their cultivation. As opposed to 5 days ago, he noticed that several new disciples were among the group. Mentor Yu was in the midst of guiding the disciples when Wang Xian arrived. Everyone's attention quickly turned to him. There was a look of bewilderment on the faces of the new disciples as they were wondering who this man was. Wang Xian, you are here! Mentor Yu was delighted to see him and approached him after speaking to the disciples. Mentor Yu! Wang Xian smiled and acknowledged her. Come, take your cultivating resources. Mentor Yu led him towards one of the mountains. Here are 100 spiritual stones from Mt. Fingyu. For being in the top 20 disciples in the ranking, you get 500 spiritual stones every month. In addition, there are some elixir pills for you as well. Mentor Yu retrieved a blue bag from one of the rooms and tossed it at Wang Xian. Mentor Yu, I would like to go to level 3 and 4 of the Scriptures Depository, said Wang Xian to her. Level 3 and 4? Level 3 would be good enough for those from the Dan realm or budding realm. But the arts and battle techniques in level 4 are not something you can manage. Are the spiritual stones sufficient for you? Mentor Yu said to Wang Xian. Yes, Wang Xian said and nodded. Okay, here you go. Train hard. Mentor Yu tossed another token at Wang Xian. There will be a spiritual tea session tomorrow afternoon. MT Fing Yu is given 10 invitations. Do make yourself available. Spiritual tea session? What is that? Wang Xian asked with slight amazement. At MT Lingcha we have over 10 level 7 spiritual tea trees. Anyone who drinks the tea made by its leaves will greatly benefit his cultivating skills. Don't miss this golden opportunity. Mentor Yu explained to Wang Xian. Over 10 level 7 spiritual tea trees? Wang Xian clicked his tongue slightly and hesitated for a while. All right, Mentor Yu. I will be there promptly tomorrow. He nodded. Okay. Mentor Yu smiled and left. Wang Xian flew to the Scriptures Depository without any hesitation. Soon he reached the mountain peak of the depository and darted through the familiar paths inside. After entering level 2, Wang Xian followed the path to level 3. To enter level 3, it would require a large number of spiritual stones, 2,000 to be exact, for a stay of 12 hours. Wang Xian looked at the slot at the side. He reached out for the space ring, retrieved the spiritual stones from it one by one, and placed them into the slot. As he entered into level 3, Wang Xian swept his gaze across the area and noted that the size was much smaller than level 2. Battle Techniques imaging jade stones were placed neatly on the shelves. Compared to level 2, there were only 5 such stones in level 3. Wang Xian headed straight ahead. Sword Edge Storm, a middle-class battle technique upgraded from Sword Edge. To master this battle technique, one must first master the Sword Edge battle technique. Sword Jail, a middle-class battle technique upgraded from Sword Imprisonment. To cultivate this battle technique, one must first master the Sword Edge battle technique. Sword Cloud Sea, a middle-class battle technique upgraded from Sword Cloud. To cultivate this battle technique, one must first master the Sword Cloud battle technique. Sword Alps, a middle-class battle technique upgraded from Sword Shield. To cultivate this battle technique, one must first master the Sword Shield battle technique. Hidden Water, a middle-class battle technique upgraded from Water Clone and Hidden Mist. To cultivate this battle technique, one must first master the Water Clone and Hidden Mist battle techniques. Wang Xian studied the battle techniques imaging jade stones enthusiastically and tried to master them one by one. Compared to the primary level battle technique, the middle-class battle technique was obviously far superior in power and tactics. If any expert from the Dan realm can master any middle-class battle technique, they are practically invincible within their ranks. This upgrade in power is even more superior to that which one can get from any spiritual equipment. If any budding realm expert is capable of mastering 2 of these battle techniques, he will be regarded as a fearsome expert. In less than half an hour, Wang Xian had cultivated 5 battle techniques as his own. He was now able to unleash these battle techniques at will. Wang Xian's face beamed with excitement as he looked at the entrance to level 4. Level 4 battle techniques are the high-class battle techniques that can only be used by the immortals. Mastering these techniques will enable the immortals to come up with their own unique superpowers. Wang Xian recalled reading a record about such techniques from a book. He stared at the entrance to level 4 and thought about whether he should proceed further. 10,000 spiritual stones for 12 hours. Okay, let's go and take a look at what's in there. Wang Xian made up his mind and headed towards the entrance to level 4. He could easily afford the 10,000 spiritual stones right now. During the past few days, some of the forces brought him tens of thousands of spiritual stones along with the refining materials just to get into his good books. Wang Xian had kept all of these stones. Upon entering level 4 and slotting the 10,000 spiritual stones, Wang Xian followed the path upwards. This level 4 merely has 3 rooms. Wang Xian peered into the area of level 4 with astonishment. Unlike the other levels, there were no shelves in level 4, only 3 individual rooms with words engraved on the doors to the rooms. Great Waterfall Water Shockwave. Dangerous Steam Explosive Power. Sword Field. Wang Xian marveled at the 3 rooms before deciding to enter the room of Great Waterfall Water Shockwave. Inside the room, there was only one battle technique imaging jade stone in the center of the room with no reference books. The jade stone was about the size of a human head, which was about 7 or 8 times larger than the size of the jade stones in level 2 and 3. Wang Xian noticed there was a cushion facing the front of the room. He immediately walked towards it and sat down. Just as he was sitting down, a shocking scene unfolded before his eyes. The entire area before him, spanning a radius of 10 kilometers and 5 kilometers in height, was quickly filled up by an oval-shaped seawater field. In the middle of the seawater field was a blurry image of a man standing in it. He moved his arm, and the seawater started to gush out from the inside as though a waterfall of tens of thousands of meters high. The force of the water swiftly swept forward. In an instant, the seawater field looked like what one would witness on Doomsday. However, the scene dissipated slowly, replaced by the blurry image of the man who had started to create the horrid seawater field. Ding! Master the high-class battle technique. Great Waterfall Water Shockwave. Wang Xian felt like he'd been submerged under the water for a very long time before passing out. He regained consciousness after hearing a sound echoing from the system. I did it! I have learned a high-level battle technique that can only be mastered by immortals. Wang Xian's eyes burned with passion, and he recalled how the Great Waterfall Water Shockwave was unleashed before him. Even with my strong ability, I can only withstand the strength of the Great Waterfall Water Shockwave for 3 minutes. The consumption of my energy is too high. Wang Xian clicked his tongue slightly. In this instance, he felt a repulsive force being emitted inside the room. What? 12 hours flew past just like that. Chapter 588, Serpent's Sword. Standing at the entrance to the 4th floor, Wang Xian hesitated a little. Let's practice the other 2 battle techniques when I have the time. It was already the next morning and he still had to attend a spiritual tea session in the afternoon. Wang Xian wouldn't want to miss the spiritual tea session. Wang Xian didn't have many other hobbies. He wasn't a fan of smoking or drinking alcohol. All he liked was to taste and enjoy great tea. He wouldn't want to miss tea that was made from level 7 spiritual tea leaves. He didn't return to Mtfingyu. Instead, he flew towards Yong Chang City directly. At this moment, there was still a huge pile of materials waiting for him to refine. Refining spiritual equipment was relatively more time-consuming as compared to refining elixir pills to Wang Xian. Therefore, he had to refine the materials piling up in his shop as soon as possible. When he reached Yongchang City, dawn had just broken. When Wang Xian arrived at his shop, he was surprised to see a burly young man standing at the entrance. The young man was roughly 2 meters tall, and had an exceptionally burly build. He wore a long black robe and looked imposing. Behind him, he carried a huge sword that was roughly 2 meters long. Are you here to refine elixir pills or spiritual equipment? Wang Xian looked at the young man, took out his key and opened the doors to the shop. You are the master of this shop? Seeing Wang Xian opening the door, he asked this in a solemn and low voice. His voice was ordinary but had a unique dominance. Yeah. Get your materials ready, Wang Xian said plainly to the young man. I'm here because I wanted to modify this weapon of mine. The young man stepped into the shop and remarked with a straight face. Modify your weapon? Get your materials ready, leave the weapon you want to modify behind and write down your requirements for the modification. Wang Xian replied directly. I'd like to stay behind to watch. Moreover, I only have a set of materials. I can pay the rest with spiritual stones. The young man frowned and answered Wang Xian. Come again in half a month. I don't have time now. Wang Xian's eyebrows knitted together upon hearing him before answering plainly. You are going to help me modify today. The young man paid no attention to what Wang Xian had said. Huh? Wang Xian raised an eyebrow and looked at that young man. He had bushy eyebrows, thick lips, a burly stature, and a naturally imposing demeanor. Get in the queue, Wang Xian said as he turned and headed to the second floor. Wang! Just as Wang Xian took the first step, a razor-sharp sword edge flashed across and blocked off his route. The blade was close to half a meter long, and was emitting a chilling aura. Wang Xian squinted his eyes, turned around and stared at the young man. What? You want to fight now? Get it modified today. I won't pay you a single spiritual stone fewer. The young man stared at Wang Xian with his deep and black eyes as he remarked coldly. What if I say no? Seeing the attitude displayed by the young man, Wang Xian's expression turned solemn. He flicked his finger towards the sword edge. Ka. Sounds of mirrors cracking reverberated and the blade before Wang Xian collapsed instantly. Huh! You are pretty strong! The young man was surprised Wang Xian could crush his sword edge with a flick of his finger. He squinted his eyes to observe Wang Xian and said, I'll compensate you with sufficient spiritual stones. You have to help me modify my sword right now. Is this the attitude to have when you are asking me for a favor? Wang Xian looked at the young man with contempt and shouted, Get out! The young man was haughty and exceptionally conceited. He was requesting that Wang Xian modify his spiritual sword and yet showed Wang Xian a horrible attitude. Wang Xian wasn't lacking in spiritual stones at this moment. If the young man wasn't polite to him, he could afford to simply ignore him. Think before you talk. You are going to modify as I requested. I wouldn't be cheating you on the spiritual stones. When the young man heard Wang Xian, he was still emotionless. It was as though he was incapable of showing emotions. Gradually, he lifted his arm and drew the huge sword. The huge sword didn't have a sharp edge and looked extremely heavy. It was entirely black and seemed capable of absorbing sunlight. On it, streams of black water were flowing. This is... Wang Xian stared at the sword and was surprised. Level 12 spiritual equipment. Moreover, the water that was flowing down the surface wasn't ordinary water. Scram! Wang Xian shifted his gaze away, turned around and headed for the stairs once again. Wang! At this moment, the young man's arm trembled and a black-colored sword edge shot out from the huge sword towards the stairs where Wang Xian was heading. You must be eager to die. I'm asking you to get out and you shall get out now. Ruthlessness beamed in the eyes of Wang Xian. Moving the longsword in his hand, a huge mountain-shaped sword appeared below the black energy blade. Bam! A terrifying explosion reverberated and the immense energy was absorbed by the mountain-shaped sword. Sword Alps! And you are so skillful in it! The young man's eyes lit up. Waving the huge sword in his arm, shots of sword edge slashed towards Wang Xian like a strong storm. Sword edge storm? Seeing the young man attacking, Wang Xian moved. Mountain-shaped swords hovered around him as he started swinging the phantom sword. Sword edge storm! The same sword edge storm. However, Wang Xian's sword edge storm perfectly deflected the young man's sword edge storm as they continued their attacking paths towards the young man. Great! What a great use of sword edge storm! The young man was burning with passion. He placed the huge edgeless black sword across his body and one could see the black water energy flowing rapidly on it. Sword Alps! The same sword Alps. TSK! Wang Xian snorted. He swung his sword in a cross-action as sword-shaped energy struck towards the young man. Thinking of breaking my defense? A wishful thought! The young man shouted and the huge sword in his hand started rotating. Bam! 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 The young man's sword edge storm and Wang Xian's sword edge storm hit their opponent at the same time but were stopped by their sword Alps. Sword jail! However, the sword energy launched by Wang Xian trapped the young man directly. The burly young man lifted his head and was clearly shocked. 3 middle-class battle techniques! I had not expected you to have mastered 3 middle-class battle techniques. However, confidence quickly returned to the young man, shown in his expression. However, your sword jail won't be able to trap me. As he spoke, the huge sword before him glowed brightly. The black rays gradually pushed against the sword jail. Just get out. Wang Xian waved his arm and revealed a cold smirk. As he spoke, the sword jail enlarged and transformed into a 3 meters by 3 meters water region. The water region shrouded the young man. Wang Xian waved his arm. Boom! The entire water region appeared to have suffered catastrophic attacks. Intense and fierce water columns coalesced and smashed towards the young man. What? At this moment, the emotionless face of the young man finally revealed a different expression. His body flew out of the exit under the strong impact of water energy. Bam! The young man plunged his huge sword heavily into the ground and was completely shocked. So strong. This? How can this be possible? The young man looked out of sorts while staring blankly at the shop. Chapter 589, Serpent Sword 2. How can this be possible? The young man murmured in a low voice as his body trembled. His eyes surged with a frantic fighting spirit. But subsequently, the fighting spirit in his eyes slowly disappeared. He looked at the huge sword in his hand and headed to the shop once again. How dare you come in again? Wang Xian had just arrived upstairs when he sensed the young man walking in again. He raised his eyebrows. If you ever dare to step in again, you can forget about walking out alive. A cold voice came from upstairs while the young man had a slight change in his expression. Master, refine my weapon! The young man took a deep breath as the space ring in his hand exuded beams of radiance. Bang, bang, bang! One by one, the spiritual stones flew into the room upstairs. The number of spiritual stones was massive. Within a few seconds, hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones went into the room. Wang Xian froze for a moment as he looked at the spiritual stones in his room in shock. Hundreds of thousands of spiritual stones was a significant figure. You want to modify your spiritual equipment? Wang Xian swept his gaze across the spiritual stones as he showed up at the stairs, overlooking the young man. Yes. The young man craned his neck, looking up and staring at Wang Xian. Apologize now, and I'll do it for you. Wang Xian quirked his lips as he spoke to the young man, monotone. Radiance flickered in the eyes of the young man as he furrowed his brows. I was reckless just now. I would like Master to modify my spiritual equipment, please. This should be the attitude. What were you doing just now? On account of the spiritual stones, come up. Wang Xian scorned the young man. The corner of the young man's lips twitched as he grasped his huge sword more tightly than ever. With some hesitation, he went up. A young budding realm expert. You're on par with Piaoling Xue. I guess you must be one of the supreme talents from the Hong Immortal Sect. However, one should still learn to be polite at my place. Wang Xian cast an emotionless gaze at the young man as he stored 100,000 spiritual stones in his space ring. The young man came up while Wang Xian remained silent. Seeing him keeping quiet, the young man's hands that grabbed the huge sword tightened. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation, and the arrogant young man felt uneasy about it. But he could not win against Wang Xian, and he needed his help. Master, I would like to modify this sword. The young man took the initiative and spoke to Wang Xian. I can't modify level 12 spiritual equipment. Wang Xian cast a glance at that huge black-colored sword and spoke frankly. You don't have to modify too much of it. I just need something to be embedded on it. As the young man spoke, he put down one of his bags and opened it up before him. I just need to embed this on the sword. As a compelling master, this should be easy. The young man took out pieces of scale-like items. This is... Wang Xian narrowed his eyes as he gazed at the metal that looked like pieces of scales. A palm-sized material with a sharp tip. Serpent scale stones, level 12. There were hundreds of such level 12 metals. Serpent scale stones. Can you embed this on the huge sword? The young man looked at Wang Xian and asked him with a dead fish look. Wang Xian walked over and took out one of the serpent scale stones. Subsequently, he stretched his hands out and took over the huge sword in the young man's hand. Embedding the serpent scale stones on this huge edgeless sword would instantly enhance the power of this sword by a lot. On top of that, circulating the stones with energy could form a serpent. This was the feature of the serpent scale stones. One slash would bring out hundreds of serpents, tearing the enemy apart. Just the thought of it would make one tremble in his boots. Wang Xian took the serpent scale stones and the huge sword as he locked his brows. Given his level in art of water refining, he was unable to reforge it again. To embed them on the sword, there was only one method. Wang Xian looked towards the chest at the side and took out a type of metal from it. Xian metal, level 12. Xian metal was a unique metal that had a suction ability. This was one of the materials sent by a force for refining some equipment that was similar to chains. Wang Xian took a look at Xian metal, then the huge sword and serpent scale stones. Your spiritual stones are not enough. Wang Xian looked at the young man and spoke straightforwardly. Xian metal could be used to forge level 12 weapons after Wang Xian upgraded to level 9. Level 12 spiritual equipment cost at least 150,000 spiritual stones per piece. The 100,000 spiritual stones that the young man paid was indeed insufficient. Not enough? Wang Xian's words stunned the young man as he revealed a surprised look. Wang Xian looked at him and said, I need to consume level 12 Shiyun metal. Help me modify it first, and I'll not shortchange you any spiritual stones. The young man locked his brows as he spoke to Wang Xian. Great! Wang Xian nodded as he swung his arm and began his work. Level 12 Shiyun metal, for some reason, could melt at a rapid rate. With a swing, drops of Shiyun metal landed on the huge sword. Subsequently, he embedded the serpent scale stones on top of it. Taking into account the energy conductivity, the stones were not embedded in any random order. Wang Xian had to consider all aspects to make it work. Over hundreds of serpent scale stones were somewhat troublesome, and this slowed down the embedding speed by a lot. Phew! After 4 hours, Wang Xian had finally embedded all the serpent scale stones on the huge sword. At this time, the sword had already undergone a tremendous change. The entire huge and broad sword was already covered by the serpent scale stones, with them protruding from the blade. The huge black sword had turned into some horrifying monster sword. Wang Xian held the hilt and circulated his water energy. Roar! A faint roaring sound was heard from it as sea serpents formed by the water energy began to sprout from the serpent scale stones. The entire sword had turned into a terrifying monster in an instant. Great sword! Wang Xian's eyes gleamed while the young man's eyes were burning with passion as his body was shaking. Give it to me! The young man reached out to grab the huge sword. Spiritual stones, said Wang Xian without any emotion as he did not hand it to him directly. I'll send them over tomorrow. The young man was expressionless as he fixed his eyes on that huge sword. Oh? Is that so? Wang Xian raised an eyebrow and stored the huge sword in his space ring. Send over the remaining 150,000 spiritual stones tomorrow, and I'll return the sword to you. I'll accept an equivalent amount of Shiyun metal which I consumed just now too. Her 150,000 spiritual stones? The young man darkened his expression immediately as soon as he heard Wang Xian. He stared hard at Wang Xian. Yes, 100,000 for workmanship fees, 150,000 for Shiyun metal. Give me Shiyun metal, and I can offset the 150,000 spiritual stones. Wang Xian looked at him and spoke with a smile. The young man was startled as his face turned black. However, he did not say anything. 100,000 spiritual stones was expensive for the workmanship, but it was, after all, level 12 spiritual equipment. This was the primary market price. In addition, there was nothing wrong with providing the level 12 materials that were consumed in the process. Give me the sword first, and I'll definitely give you the spiritual stones or whatever materials, the young man said with a sullen face. Don't even think about it. I'll give you back your sword whenever you have spiritual stones or materials. Otherwise, I'll keep your sword here. Wang Xian said to him plainly. Chapter 590 Gathering of the Supreme Talents. The young man was shocked. He frowned as his eyes were fixed on Wang Xian, while he was feeling a little defeated. Piao Lingxue recommend you to me. I wouldn't undercompensate you regardless of whether it was spiritual stones or materials. After a few seconds of silence, the young man looked at Wang Xian and spoke. Piao Lingxue? Wang Xian's lips curved into a smile and he said, In that case, do you know that I also didn't hand Piao Lingxue her weapons when she did not have sufficient spiritual stones with her? The young man's jaw dropped and his emotionless face looked a little distracted. Overall, he looked a little weird. This afternoon. I'll bring spiritual stones over this afternoon, the young man said with a heavy expression. I'm not free in the afternoon. I'll be going out in a while. Come back tomorrow. Wang Xian replied plainly to the young man. He looked at the time and realized it was almost noon. I'm closing for the day. I'll be heading out. Wang Xian walked towards the stairs as he spoke. The young man pulled a long face while following Wang Xian, seeing him locking up the shop. His eyes burned with passion and fighting will as he saw the figure disappearing before him. However, a frown appeared on his face gradually. Wang Xian, we are going off now. Soon after arriving at MT Fingyu and getting a short break in his simple room, Wang Xian heard a voice calling him from outside the room. All right, I'm coming. Wang Xian opened his eyes, got up from his bed with a smile and headed out. Outside the room, Yu Linger, Huayu and several other disciples were waiting for him. Senior brother Wang Xian! Several disciples greeted him warmly with a smile. Wang Xian nodded his head plainly and said, Let's go! Mentor Yu is going with us too. We have to thank Senior Brother Wang Xian for making it possible for us to participate in today's spiritual tea session. Only the top 10 mountain seats are qualified to join. Several disciples looked at Wang Xian and spoke. Let's go! Mentor Yu arrived and led the group to fly towards where the spiritual tea session was being held on their swords. MT Lingcha was located at the back of the Hong Immortal Sect. There were a dozen-odd jade-green spiritual tea trees growing above the waterfall. Within the stream connected to the waterfall, there were various tea-serving pots made out of wood. Each tea-serving pot was exquisitely crafted. There were 5 seats placed around each tea-serving pot. There were roughly 50 to 60 tea-serving pots across the entire stream. At this moment, many disciples had arrived. Those who could participate in the spiritual tea session were all elite disciples of various mountain sections. Other than young disciples, various mentors and the higher management personnel of the Hong Immortal Sect were also present. The spiritual tea is made from leaves from level 7 spiritual trees. The effects are immense even if you are only drinking the tea. Remember to cultivate diligently and absorb the essence. Mentor Yu reminded the disciples around her. After finding a good spot, they sat down. Yes, Mentor Yu. The group of disciples nodded their heads. Subsequently, the group of 10 people from MT Fingyu sat around 2 tea-serving pots. The water below them was roughly 2 meters deep. One could even see fishes swimming in the clear water. Having tea in this place was undoubtedly very enjoyable. Around the tea-serving pots were other pieces of tea wares and tea leaves that had been prepared in advance. Wang Xian took a deep sniff and the aroma of the tea assailed his nostrils. He poured some hot water over the tea leaves and started enjoying his tea slowly. As for the other disciples of MT Fingyu, they threw all the leaves into the pot and gobbled down their tea in a mouthful. Their objectives were different from Wang Xian as they were after the energy encompassed within. As for Wang Xian, he was simply trying to enjoy the tea. This was indeed made from leaves from a level 7 spiritual tree. This isn't something that can be matched by tea leaves around. Drinking it could even increase my dragon energy. Wang Xian sipped on a bit and revealed a faint smile. Mentor Yu was also silently enjoying her tea. However, Mentor Yu stood up soon after and walked towards the front. Chirp chirp. The cries of swans could be heard from the sky. The surrounding people were conversing softly, making the place feel a little out of this world. As more and more people arrived, the surroundings got a little noisier. Pa. Spiritual tea is for enjoying and not for gobbling down. Hee hee. Other than that Dragon King, the rest in MT Fingyu are all piles of trash. At this moment, ridicules resounded from the side. When the disciples from MT Fingyu heard them, they jerked open their eyes and glowered at the group of people before them. The group had roughly 20 people. They were staring at the people from MT Fingyu with contempt. Conceit was written over their faces as they stared down at the disciples of MT Fingyu with a sense of superiority. When the disciples from MT Fingyu saw the words embroidered on their outfits, they were furious but held back their displeasure. Hee hee. The group snorted and headed to the side before sitting down. Those people from MT Ling are truly scornful. They are too overbearing. Several disciples from MT Fingyu grumbled furiously. MT Ling? Wang Xian turned his head around nonchalantly as he looked across. He realized the group were staring at him harshly. She's that girl with the almond-shaped eyes. Following which, the disciples from MT Ling, who were next to the girl, started conversing softly. Wang Xian looked beyond them and indeed saw their mentor, Ling Yan, walking towards the front. Senior brother Hong Tianda is here? Who would have thought that senior brother Hong Tianda would come to this spiritual tea session? At this moment, exclamations broke out from various places. Countless disciples at the spiritual tea session looked ahead curiously. The young man was roughly 40 years old. He had an exceptionally burly stature and wore a straight face. It was as though everyone here owed him money. It was also his strong build and emotionless face that instilled fear in others. Tiani swordsman, Hong Tianda. He's the pride of all disciples in the Hong immortal sect. With his huge sword, he could defeat a whole crowd alone. Wang Xian heard a disciple standing by the side exclaiming, "He's my idol! That's what the strongest disciple of the Hong immortal sect should be." A while back, great senior brother Jing Tianda fought with the strongest disciple from Yong Chang immortal sect. In the end, he lost by a move because of his weapon. If he had an equivalent weapon to the strongest disciple from Yong Chang immortal sect, the outcome wouldn't have been certain. Only senior sister Piaoling Xue and senior brother Ao Shuwen could possibly be compared with great senior brother. Even senior brother Su Fa is a little inferior to him. Wang Xian heard several other disciples commenting. It's him. Wang Xian looked at the burly young man. Isn't he that brat I met earlier today? Looking at his face, Wang Xian chuckled. He was pulling a long and dark face, although he still owed Wang Xian 150,000 spiritual stones. Wang Xian found this to be a little hilarious. So that's why he knew Piaoling Xue. So he is Hong Tianda, who I have heard so much about. And he's the strongest disciple of the Hong immortal sect. Wang Xian's eyes were fixed on him. When fighting with him a while back, he found this young man to be rather strong. He was even much stronger than Emperor Qi from Diabolism and Nie Wushuang from the Donghua sacred sect. However, when compared to the current Wang Xian, the strongest disciple of the Hong immortal sect wouldn't even pique Wang Xian's interest in battle. Piaoling Xue and the beautiful disciples from MT Shui are here too. Senior sister Piaoling Xue is truly a breathtaking beauty. The strongest and the second strongest disciples of the Hong immortal sect are here. Even the fourth-ranked senior brother Su Fa is here. We are just missing senior brother Ao Shuwen now. Chapter 591 Vendetta. With skin that was as fair as snow, and a sword that was as cold as frost, Piaoling Xue was the goddess in the current era of the entire Dahong immortal sect within Yongchang world. The only one that could be compared with her was a female disciple from Yongchang immortal sect. It was not an overstatement to say that Piaoling Xue was the dream girl of all the disciples of Dahong immortal sect. Her prestige was on par with the top-ranking disciple, Hong Tianda. Around Piaoling Xue stood the group of MT Shui's female disciples, which consisted of the top 20 disciples like Yao Beibei, Feng Bailing. All of them enjoyed a great reputation in the entire Dahong immortal sect. The appearance of Piaoling Xue and the female disciples of MT Shui drew the attention of all men as they observed them with glistening eyes. Wang Xian looked over, revealing a smile on his face, as he saw all familiar faces. Senior brother Ao Shuan is here too. Senior brothers Ao Shuan, Feng Haoxi, Tong Xiuping, Ming Ziyu, Ling Xingzhan are here. They are ranked 3rd, 6th, 9th, 11th, and 14th respectively. These 5 senior brothers were on very good terms with senior brother Ao Shuan as the lead. They are the ones who had the greatest strength in the entire Dahong Immortal sect. All geniuses are always together. When will we have the chance to enter their circle? Unless you can make it to the top 20 of the Dahong Immortal sect disciples, you can forget about entering their circle. At this time, exclamations of surprise kept coming with the arrival of those 5 disciples. The level of attention they got was not any less than Piao Lingxue or Hong Tianda. That was because 5 of them were the young supreme talents of the Dahong Immortal sect. Her? Another familiar face? Wan Xian squinted his eyes as a tinge of coolness flashed in his eyes while he peered at the quintet. The 5 people before him were those 5 young men whom he had met at St. Forge workshop before. Enemies are bound to meet. Wan Xian took the teacup in front of him and took a sip without any expression. Hong Tianda, Piao Lingxue, and the quintet took seats around them. They possessed self-contempt as they looked nowhere, and sat down with cold arrogance. I did not expect her to be a proud goddess. Looking at Piao Lingxue, who appeared almost as a proud swan in the sky, Wan Xian could only give a faint smile. Compared to the Piao Lingxue who he had known previously, the current one was more superior and aloof. The spiritual tea session once again quieted down after the disciples walked in. One by one, they sipped the tea, digested it, and converted it into energy. Pack. Ling Yan, watch your mouth. After about 10 minutes, the sharp sound of the breaking of a tea set was heard along with the voice of Mentor Yu. Everyone was startled as they looked ahead. Why, Qianmei? I can't even talk about it. Humph. Bam. When everyone craned and looked up, they were shocked to see Mentor Yu and Ling Yan engaging in a fight above their heads. Sigh, not again. Some of them sighed as several elders stood in the air, watching the 2 of them with helpless faces. The grudge between Mentor Yu and Mentor Ling will never be resolved for the rest of their entire lives. How could it be resolved? Back then, Ling Aofeng killed Emperor Yu and the top-notch disciples of Mt. Fingyu with the use of unorthodox combat methods, including level 13 spiritual equipment and an array. Even though Ling Aofeng had his limbs hacked off, he was only imprisoned for 10 years because of Godling. This grudge is not easy to resolve unless one of them is totally defeated. At this time, some of the disciples were whispering. Wan Xian looked over and saw Yu Linger standing up in rage. Some of the disciples of Mt. Fingyu were also glowering at Ling Yan in the sky with furious looks. This was obviously not the first time that the surrounding disciples witnessed the fight between Mentor Yu and Mentor Ling. There were right and wrong back then. Ling Aofeng might be a descendant of Godling, but Emperor Yu was, after all, the unofficial disciple of Godin. He also felt guilty towards Emperor Yu. Hence, he would never let Mentor Yu and his daughter come into harm's way. Yes, such a grudge cannot be resolved. Luckily, they stop after each fight. Some of the surrounding disciples continued to exchange conversations in whispers. Wan Xian was listening to the story that some of the disciples were talking about as he looked up to the sky. Both Mentor Yu and Ling Yan were withholding a daunting sense of murderous intent. However, the members of higher management of Dahong Immortal Sect was watching, and thus, no one would get killed. Yu Qianmei, don't assume that you have an extraordinary disciple in your mountain sect. Humph. To me, he's just a little worthless brat. Those outstanding disciples that Mt. Fingyu once had are gone by now. Ling Yan's sarcastic, cold voice came from the sky as she wanted to irritate Mentor Yu. If not for that despicable Ling Aofeng, how would Mt. Fingyu have come to such a state? Mt. Ling has only insidious villains. Mentor Yu's voice in the sky was filled with killing intent as she confronted her. Humph, it was obvious that Mt. Fingyu lost to us. Now you smeared our name by saying we're despicable. How shameless! Suddenly, a scornful voice was heard not far away from Mt. Fingyu's side. You! Upon hearing their words, MT Fingyu's disciples immediately spun around with anger. What is it? Seeing the MT Fingyu disciples turning around to look at them, the disciples of MT Ling revealed sarcastic faces. A bunch of trash from MT Fingyu. If you're not convinced, we can go to the arena and cripple you guys. They glared at them disdainfully. MT Ling was currently the third mountain sect in the ranking of Dahong immortal sects. They had over 200 disciples, which was 10 times more than MT Fingyu. A few pieces of trash are not qualified to take part in a spiritual tea session. Any disciples we pull from our mountain sect could easily annihilate the insignificant MT Fingyu. Several MT Ling disciples exuded a surge of domineering aura. The group of MT Fingyu disciples paled instantly, revealing dreadful expressions. Comparing the inborn disciples of MT Fingyu and the lowest level, half-step to Dan realm, of MT Ling, the difference was too huge. It was not a fight within the same league. Senior brother Su Fa, that's the so-called Dragon King. At this time, the almond-shaped-eyed girl beside a young man pointed at Wang Xian. Really? Dragon King? Hee hee, I've long wanted to meet him in person. The young man by the name of Su Fa looked at Wang Xian before he swept his gaze across the MT Fingyu disciples. MT Fingyu? Dragon King? They are just some trash that are not even worthy of carrying the shoes of MT Ling's disciples. Su Fa sneered with a cold smile. Since the mentors from MT Fingyu and MT Ling shared a vendetta, naturally, the disciples from the two mountain sects would not be on good terms. But MT Fingyu was too weak to be compared with MT Ling. If not for that Dragon King, MT Fingyu would not have been ranked in the 10th position. Disciples of MT Ling could not be bothered as they totally disregarded the opponent that looked like trash to them. Chapter 592, The Damsels Rescuing the Hero. Su Fa spoke coldly to the group of people from MT Fingyu. The other disciples from MT Ling also stared at Wang Xian and the group with contempt. They had no regard for them at all. Even if MT Fingyu was ranked as the 10th strongest mountain sect currently. As they spoke, terrifying auras shrouded towards the crowd from MT Fingyu. The auras from Dan realm experts weren't something that inborn disciples could withstand. The disciples from MT Fingyu turned pale and gritted their teeth instantly as though they were small and helpless boats on the rough seas. Trying to exert your dominance over us with your aura? Wang Xian lifted the cup before him as he stared coldly towards Su Fa, who was in the middle of the group of disciples from MT Ling. We can also settle it in the arena. Su Fa looked at Wang Xian with ridicule. Dragon King? So what if you defeated Kong Guanglin easily? Although others have said you have the strength to rank among the top 10 disciples, I wonder, how many moves will you last against me? No matter whether it is imposing our dominance or settling things in the arena, you guys from MT Fingyu are trash to us regardless of whether it's the present or the future. So what if you are the Dragon King? Su Fa lifted his head proudly, and had no respect for Wang Xian at all. His voice reverberated throughout the entire spiritual tea session. This is... Mentor Yu and Mentor Lung are fighting it out above and the disciples of the two mountain sects are going against one another here? That's a given. Considering that their mentors are fighting it out, how could the disciples be sitting there? It's only natural that they should try to crush the other sect. MT Fingyu isn't in the same tier as MT Ling. Even when the Dragon King has shot up on the charts recently, they still couldn't be compared with MT Ling. MT Ling has Ao Shuwen and Su Fa. No matter whether it is imposing dominance over the other or settling things in the arena, the disciples from MT Fingyu are completely outclassed. They would just be tortured. Is that young man the Dragon King? He sure knows how to act cool. Everyone is standing there, and yet he sits by the side and enjoys his tea. Hee. He's just going to be beaten up for trying to act cool. When the surrounding crowd heard Su Fa, they smirked, and were just waiting to see a show. They enjoyed their tea and had some food while watching the conflict between disciples from MT Ling and MT Fingyu. In a way, this was rather entertaining. The only shame was that MT Fingyu was too weak. It would be an overwhelming defeat, and thus the crowd was a little disinterested. More people were focusing on Wang Xian. They were interested to see what the Dragon King really looked like. That kid is still as scornful as before. Standing beside Ao Shuan, Tong Xiuping stared harshly at Wang Xian as he remarked, Brother Ao, the disciples from your MT Ling have a conflict with the other group. Why don't we head over and teach that guy a lesson? The other young man, Feng Haosi, smirked as he spoke. There's no need to. Just leave this to Su Fa. A meager Dragon King isn't qualified to warrant us taking actions ourselves. Ao Shuan looked across nonchalantly, sipped on his spiritual tea and spoke with a smile. Ha. You're right. Su Fa from your mountain sect would be enough to teach that brat a good lesson. Tong Xiuping and a few other young men commented with smiles. That is. At this moment, where the disciples of MT Shui were standing, Yao Beibei and Feng Bailing were looking in the direction of MT Fingyu and MT Ling out of curiosity. Suddenly, someone caught their eye. Piao Lingxue was also looking at Wang Xian, who was sitting there. So he's here too. Piao Lingxue thought to herself. Master. It's that handsome master. Yao Beibei and Feng Bailing weren't aware that Wang Xian was the Dragon King. They also didn't know that Wang Xian was a disciple from MT Fingyu. Seeing Wang Xian, they were astonished. However, excitement beamed in their eyes. Other disciples from MT Shui were also astonished to see Wang Xian. Great senior sister, that. Feng Bailing pointed at Wang Xian. Her eyes widened and her jaw dropped as she exclaimed, He's that handsome master from Yongchang City! Yeah! Piao Lingxue nodded her head. Great senior sister, did you know that handsome master is a disciple of the Dahong Immortal sect? Upon seeing Piao Lingxue's response, the surrounding disciples from MT Shui asked this in astonishment. Yeah, I knew that Wang Xian is the Dragon King. It's just that I did not expect him to be here today, Piao Lingxue answered. The master that was unparalleled in refining elixir pills and equipment. He was the most famous master in the entire Yongchang city currently. His name had almost reached the entire Yongchang world by now. How dare the people from MT Ling try to bully handsome master? Let's go. Let's go support the handsome master. Let's go. Who is more talented than that master in the entire Yongchang city? I had not expected that master to be the Dragon King. He's too cool. Let's head over. Let's head over. The disciples of MT Shui stared at Wang Xian with excitement. Even Yao Beibei and Feng Bailing were staring at Wang Xian with fervent eyes. The group of girls had all hoped for a romantic occasion with an insanely talented alchemist master and blacksmith master. All the disciples from MT Shui stood up and headed towards Wang Xian. Damsels saving the hero. They were thinking of saving Wang Xian. Piao Lingxue chuckled. She stood up and followed behind. Where are the beautiful girls from MT Shui heading to? The surrounding disciples from various mountain sects were surprised to see the female disciples from MT Shui standing up. At the other end, Wang Xian put down the teacup in his hand while looking at the crowd of arrogant disciples from MT Ling. He stood up, stared at Su Fa and remarked emotionlessly. Let's meet in the arena. No one is to blame for any death. Ha! Great! You are indeed the Dragon King. Your courage is really commendable. Su Fa was taken aback by what Wang Xian said. However, he broke into laughter soon after and replied, Arena? No one is to blame for any deaths? Let it be then. Ha! As he spoke, the smile on his face deepened. His eyes were locked on Wang Xian as he continued ridiculing him. It seems like I'm going to be the warrior that slays a dragon. The Dragon King is challenging Su Fa in the arena? No one is to be blamed for any death? Damn! How stupid is he? Su Fa is currently ranked 5th and has reached the half-step to budding realm. Isn't he courting his own death? Interesting. This is going to be interesting. I was thinking MT Fingyu would be completely crushed. Who would have thought that the Dragon King wouldn't back down? Great! Great! When the surrounding disciples of Dahong Immortal sect heard their conversation, their eyes lit up with excitement. Those female disciples from MT Shui that were walking towards Wang Xian frowned, quickened their pace, and said, "You are really arrogant to speak of slaying the dragon. If you are challenging Master Dragon King, you have to get past me first. Is MT Feng trying to impose his dominance over MT Fingyu? Retract your aura and don't push things too hard." Just as the disciples from MT Ling were smiling proudly and releasing their aura towards Wang Xian and the other disciples of MT Fingyu, sharp voices resounded suddenly. These voices and what happened were heard and seen clearly by the surrounding disciples. "What's the situation? What are the disciples from MT Shui doing? Why are they helping the disciples from MT Fingyu?" The surrounding disciples were taken aback. Even the disciples from MT Ling was stunned. However, what was truly shocking to them was seeing the female disciples crowding towards Wang Xian as though they were diehard fans of his. "Handsome master, I had not expected you to be the Dragon King. You are really too stunning. Wah! I want to be your girlfriend. Dragon King, Dragon King. This name is truly domineering. Can you give me your autograph?" Chapter 593, Contest? 1. What's going on? What is this? All the mountain sect disciples were stunned as they watched Wang Xian being surrounded by a group of female disciples from MT Shui. The female disciples in their eyes looked like some girls who were obsessed with guys, including Yao Beibei and Feng Bailing. They were the next strongest disciples after Piaoling Xue, and ranked 7th and 8th respectively. They were absolutely talented young ladies of Dahong Immortal Sect and goddesses in the eyes of Dahong Immortal Sect's disciples. They were only second to Piaoling Xue. Yet these two goddesses were standing by the sides, addressing Dragon King as the handsome master? They even declared that anyone who wished to challenge the Dragon King would need to get past her first. What? What was going on? Gosh, my goddess! One of the mountain sect disciples could not help but widen his eyes with disbelief as he watched the event unfolding. The overall strength of MT Shui was ranked second, which was higher than MT Ling. Moreover, the disciples of MT Shui, who were presented here today, were all renowned figures. Everyone had their own reputation, but yet, they were encircling Dragon King. At the sight of this, all of them revealed shocked expressions. Even those people from MT Ling, including Su Fa, wore slightly awkward expressions. Seeing the MT Shui disciples glaring at them furiously, Su Fa's expression darkened. "Juniors of MT Shui, this is between MT Ling and MT Fingyu. Do you want to intervene in the business between two mountain sects?" "That's right. Ladies, this is a grudge between us and MT Fingyu. MT Shui had better not get involved in this and hurt our friendship." Su Fa and another disciple from MT Ling spoke in a dull voice as they looked at Yao Beibei and Feng Bailing. "Why has it got nothing to do with us? Dragon King's business is our business." However, a female disciple of MT Shui looked up and answered as soon as Su Fa and the rest finished their statements. "That's right, I might be marrying into MT Fingyu in the future. Hee, this has certainly got something to do with me." Another female disciple threw Wang Xian a broad smile. For a moment, the group of people from MT Ling put on dark faces after hearing what the female disciples said. The surrounding disciples from other mountain sects twitched their lips involuntarily. Fuck, when did Dragon King establish such a good relationship with the female disciples from MT Shui? And why did the female disciples fancy him so much? This almost caused them to cough out blood. So MT Shui is bent on going against MT Ling? Asked a female disciple of MT Ling coldly as she stared at the group of disciples from MT Shui. The aura around her intensified. "Yeah, so what if we do?" Boom! Seeing that demeanor exhibited from the female disciple of MT Ling, the rest of the MT Shui disciples did not give in as they exuded the aura from their bodies. The lowest level of cultivation among the girls was half-step to Dan realm. There was no concealment to their imposing aura when they confronted the people from MT Ling. "You guys!" Sensing the incoming aura, the female disciple of MT Ling paled. Seeing how things developed, Su Fa took a step forward with a solemn expression. His aura went against them as he stared at MT Shui disciples with beaming eyes. At this moment, it was the dignity of MT Ling at stake. Even though the other party was MT Shui, they could not retreat directly. In my opinion, MT Ling's people should get going. Just then, an impassive voice was heard with Piao Lingxue walking from behind. What? Seeing Piao Lingxue dropping warnings as she stalked over, the group of MT Ling disciples had a huge change in their expressions. Even Su Fei, who was standing in front, had a tinge of fear flashing in his eyes. Dreadful looks surfaced on all the faces of people from MT Ling. Piao Lingxue actually spoke for MT Fingyu and Dragon King. She was the second disciple of the entire Yong Chang immortal sect, the supreme talent of Yong Chang world. SSS, Piao Lingxue spoke up to protect the Dragon King. What the hell is going on here? Seriously? Piao Lingxue actually went over and spoke up for him. The rest of the mountain sect disciples found it astonishing. A disciple like Piao Lingxue was above almost all the other disciples. The future member of higher management of Immortal Sect was now speaking for Dragon King. This could offend all of MT Ling. Even though members of higher management were no longer limited to any mountain sects, they must still pay attention to their behavior. Dragon King! Piao Lingxue came over and greeted him without any emotion. Miss Piao! Wan Xian gave a smile and a nod to Piao Lingxue before he turned to the rest of the female disciples of MT Shui. Thank you, pretty ladies. Hee, you're welcome. The group of disciples shook their heads with beaming faces. Her? From the side, Ao Shuwen furrowed his brows tightly when he noticed the situation. Brother Ao, shall we go over? Tong Xioping gazed quizzically as he asked Ao Shuwen. Let's go! Ao Shuwen took a brief glance at Mentor Yu and Mentor Ling, who were still engaged in a fight. With flickering eyes, he walked towards the place where MT Ling was gathered. As the leader of MT Ling, he could not ignore this anymore. Brother Ao, let me get some more people. I'll also get some guys from our mountain sect. Now that Brother Ao has Water Shark, Piao Lingxue might not necessarily be your match in combat. Lin Xinjian, Tong Xioping, Feng Haoxi, and Ming Ziyu spoke to Ao Shuwen. Ao Shuwen looked at the long sword in his hand with his lips quirked. With level 12 spiritual equipment, he did not think that his current strength would lose out to Piao Lingxue. On top of that, he felt that he could challenge Hong Tianda too. This is an issue between MT Ling and MT Fingyu. MT Shui should not meddle in it. Ao Shuwen walked to MT Ling without any expression. Following behind him, Lin Xinjian and Tong Xioping beckoned towards a group of people from two sides. The 6th-ranked mountain sect, MT Xingyun. The 7th-ranked mountain sect, MT Wu. Lin Xinjian and Tong Xioping were two leaders of these two mountain sects, and they enjoyed a high degree of prestige within the mountain sections. When the duo beckoned, the disciples from two mountain sects walked over immediately as they knew what their leaders were up to. This senior brother Ao Shuwen went over. The few people around him also followed him. On top of that, Lin Xinjian and Tong Xioping even called out people from their mountain sects. What are they doing? This has got to do with the face of the mountain sect, and not personal emotions anymore. MT Shui's disciples already embarrassed MT Ling. Senior brother Ao Shuwen could no longer stand around and watch. Do you think they will be sparring? Hard to say. The people from the 6th and 7th ranked mountain sects already went over. By strength, senior brother Ao Shuwen has the strongest alliance in the entire Dahong immortal sect. The 4 people around him are the super geniuses of the top 20. Chapter 594 Contest? 2. In the entire Dahong immortal sect, everyone knew Hong Tianda was a cold lone warrior. Hong Tianda had devoted all his attention to cultivation and had few friends. Moreover, he also had a cold personality. His pride was unmatched, and he rarely spoke. Although Piao Lingxue wasn't as cold as Hong Tianda, she didn't appear before the public eyes frequently either. Only the disciples of MT Shui had seen her as their leader. Ao Shuwen was different. His family was close to the Lin family, Tong family, Feng family and Ming family. Therefore, he often hung around with Lin Xingjian, Tong Xiuping and the rest. Lin Xingjian and the other three had also regarded Ao Shuwen as their leader. The influence of the five of them could be considered the strongest among all the disciples in Dahong Immortal Sect. Things have gotten a little out of hand. I wonder how this is going to end. The disciples from other mountain sects gasped as they watched the developments intensely. Some higher management members of Dahong Immortal Sect also looked across curiously. However, they averted their gazes soon after. The reason why Dahong Immortal Sect was divided into various mountain sects was to prevent the long period of peace eroding the drive and motivation of their disciples away. Therefore, Dahong Immortal Sect had divided their disciples into mountain sections. The stronger the mountain sect, the more resources it would be allocated. The stronger their disciples were, the more benefits they would receive. Through this, they hoped to increase the overall strength of the Immortal Sect. This method had proven highly effective, as the overall strength of the Immortal Sect had been constantly increasing. Some battles between mountain sects were allowed. Even if the disciples from different mountain sects were engaging in group life and death battles, the Immortal Sect wouldn't interfere. Everyone from MT Shui and Senior Sister Piaoling Xue, are you sure you guys would want to be involved in the matters between our MT Ling and MT Fingyu? Ao Shuwen walked across, stared at Piaoling Xue and remarked plainly. You guys have to think this through. Ao Shuwen led a group of people over and spoke to Piaoling Xue directly. Piaoling Xue raised an eyebrow, turned to Ao Shuwen and looked across the group of people that had come with him. What are you gonna do if we want to interfere? Remarked Piaoling Xue plainly. If you guys are interfering, your MT Shui better be careful during the grand contest of mountain sects. Ao Shuwen reminded Piaoling Xue in an emotionless tone. Oh, is this a threat? A flash of coldness appeared on Piaoling Xue's face as she looked across the disciples of MT Xingyun and MT Wu. The grand contest of mountain sects was different from ordinary challenges. This contest was also to showcase the overall strength of a mountain sect. Confined within an area, whichever mountain sect could last the longest would get a better ranking. During the contest, mountain sects were free to form their own alliances. As the rewards for the grand contest of mountain sects were overwhelmingly great, it was a grand affair each year. Ao Shuwen was clearly warning Piaoling Xue. Nope. I'm just hoping that everyone from MT Shui won't participate in the feud between MT Fingyu and us. Ao Shuwen remarked plainly. The sword in his hand started glowing with blue light. One could see a miniature shark swimming on it. The aura around Ao Shuwen's sword instantly attracted the attention of all the disciples. Level 12 spiritual weapon! The spiritual sword that senior brother Ao Shuwen is holding is definitely a level 12 spiritual weapon. He changed his weapon. Level 12 spiritual weapon. Oh gosh! Senior brother Ao Shuwen can almost definitely challenge Piaoling Xue. This is insane! The surrounding disciples exclaimed as they stared at the spiritual sword in Ao Shuwen's hand. The conversation between Ao Shuwen and Piaoling Xue. The standoff between MT Shui and MT Ling. Everyone in the area was now looking across. Even the disciples at the very front looked over out of curiosity. So he's a disciple of Dahong Immortal Sect. What a surprise! Moreover, he's the Dragon King from MT Fingyu. At this moment, the burly Hong Tianda who was standing near the front stared at Wang Xian while mumbling to himself. The most famous and outstanding master with demon-like talents in blacksmithing and alchemy. More impressively, he was a terrifyingly strong expert. Recalling his exchanges with Wang Xian earlier in the day, Hong Tianda couldn't help but feel a little helpless. Earlier in the day, although the moves were simple and the duration was short, he could still catch a glimpse of how terrifying that young man was. He had been confident that he was peerless among the disciples in Dahong Immortal Sect. Yet, he was completely overwhelmed in a brief exchange of blows. He even threw up blood. No disciples in Dahong Immortal Sect would be a match for him. Hong Tianda stared at that figure before looking at the additional space ring around his finger. The next moment he stood up. Huh! MT Gearman was the strongest mountain sect in Dahong Immortal Sect. The disciples from Mt. Gyumin were shocked to see Hong Tianda standing up and heading to one side. Without any hesitation, they stood up and followed behind Hong Tianda. This was the strongest disciple of Mt. Gyumin. Similarly, he was the strongest disciple in the entire Dahong immortal sect. 50,000 spiritual stones and a small space ring. As for the shortfall, I will give them to you the next day. Hong Tianda walked to Wang Xian and spoke in his solemn tone. Huh! 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 Just as Ao Shuwen and Piaoling Xue, Mt. Ling and Mt. Shui were facing off, a voice had broken the silence. Everyone was stunned. They turned around and were surprised to see Hong Tianda. When they saw Hong Tianda throw a space ring towards Wang Xian, their jaws dropped. What's the situation now? Damn! Hong Tianda is also close to the Dragon King? What is Hong Tianda trying to show by walking towards Wang Xian now? This? Could it be that the Dragon King, Hong Tianda and Piaoling Xue are really close to one another? Are they going to side with the Dragon King? The sudden arrival of Hong Tianda and him throwing a space ring to Wang Xian had shocked the surrounding disciples. What was the significance of Hong Tianda walking over under these circumstances? All the disciples from Mt. Ling were stunned too as they stared blankly at Hong Tianda. Just a while ago, they were surprised to see the female disciples from Mt. Shui walking over to support the Dragon King. And now, even Hong Tianda had walked over. What was the significance of him acting like this? Clearly, he was making his stand known to all. Hong Tianda! Ao Shuwen's pupils turned towards Hong Tianda and constricted. His expression had also turned a little more bitter. Hong Tianda was the strongest disciple of the Hong immortal sect and Mt. Gyumin. Huh! The space ring is too small. I'll count it as 50,000. You still owe me 50,000 spiritual stones. Wang Xian was a little surprised to see Hong Tianda walking towards him. However, he still caught the ring with a smile and replied to him plainly. What? Senior brother Hong Tianda owes the Dragon King spiritual stones? This? How did the Dragon King get to know Piaoling Xue and senior brother Hong Tianda? The strongest disciple of our immortal sect owes him spiritual stones. When the disciples from various mountain sects heard their conversation, they blanked out and felt that this was unbelievable. Chapter 595, Here for Your Death, 1. The strongest disciple of the Hong immortal sect, Hong Tianda. The second strongest disciple of the Hong immortal sect, Piaoling Xue. The two of them and the mountain sects behind them. After Hong Tianda tossed the space ring to Wang Xian, he did not leave. Standing quietly, he cast a brief glance at Ao Shuwen. No words from him, just a burly figure standing over there. Yet, his attitude was apparent. Noticing such a situation, the disciples of Mt. Ling gasped hard with trepidation in their eyes. Both Tong Xioping and Lin Xingjian were stupefied as they looked dumbfoundedly at the Mt. Gyumin disciples and the soundless Hong Tianda. The burly figure had brought about immense oppression to them. The disciples from Nt. Xingyun and Nt. Wu behind swallowed their saliva without knowing. How could they go against the top two mountain sects of the Hong immortal sect? This is a joke. Ao Shuwen clenched his fists as he gradually turned to Wang Xian. It was unexpected to him that this Dragon King was actually acquainted with Piaoling Xue and Hong Tianda. They had even stepped forward to help him. This was something that caught him off guard. Phew! Since senior brother Hong Tianda and senior sister Piaoling Xue are standing in defense of Mt. Fingyu and the Dragon King, Mt. Ling will stop making things difficult for them. We need to give face to our senior brother and sister. Ao Shuwen took a deep breath and spoke in a low voice. In the face of Piaoling Xue, he dared to be tough, and even so with Hong Tianda. But facing both of them together at the same time was something Ao Shuwen would not dare to try. All the more, the Mt. Ling disciples following behind dared not utter a word. At this moment, even the genius disciples who were as strong as Su Fa dared not say anything in front of them. Even Su Fa would not dare to provoke them. Ha ha, Ao Shuwen, Mt. Ling, and the few of you will not make things difficult for us? Just as Ao Shuwen's voice trailed off, Wang Xian quirked his lips and revealed a smirk. What do you mean by making things difficult? Let's have a fight then. As he said, he swept his gaze across those people coldly. Her? Ao Shuwen and the rest of the people beside him threw Wang Xian razor-sharp and icy cold gazes. He, Dragon King? If not for senior brother Hong Tianda and senior sister Piaoling Xue, you'd be lying here dead today, said Su Fa to Wang Xian impassively. Brat, have you found your alchemy shop? Lin Xinjian and Tong Xiuping sneered while fixing their eyes on Wang Xian. Ao Shuwen craned his head slightly as he gazed coldly at Wang Xian with aloofness in his eyes. Wang Xian took a brief look at them before he walked towards the back with a smile. He came to a spot 200 meters away. Everyone stared at him with quizzical looks. What is the Dragon King trying to do? Handsome Dragon King, what are you doing? Some of the disciples from other mountain sects and MT Shui asked in surprise. I'm drawing this ground as the arena. Ao Shuwen, the 4 fellows behind you, and you, come over. Wang Xian stretched out his hand and pointed to 6 people, including Ao Shuwen. Wang Xian's act swept everyone with surprise. Drawing the ground as the arena? Challenging senior brother Ao Shuwen, Tong Xiuping, Lin Xinjian, Su Fa, Feng Haoxi, Ming Ziyu? What is he doing? Is he out of his mind? Digging his own grave? Getting in the arena means that killings are allowed. He actually dared to draw an arena for senior brother Ao Shuwen and the rest. He must be either out of his mind or he's lost his senses. Darn, this fucking Dragon King is the most arrogant fellow I have ever seen. His strength is at most ranked top 10. Now he's actually issued a challenge to senior brother Ao Shuwen and the rest. Any one of the senior brothers could easily deal with him, let alone senior brother Ao Shuwen. The surrounding mountain sect's disciples were startled when they witnessed Wang Xian's actions. Immediately, they began discussing among themselves. The Dragon King was challenging 6 people, including senior brother Ao Shuwen. He was a budding realm expert, in the top 3 disciples of Dahong Immortal Sect. Not only did the surrounding disciples freeze, but even Ao Shuwen and Su Fa, whose names were called out, were stunned. Challenging us? A taunting look surfaced on Su Fa's face as he fixed his eyes on Wang Xian. Senior brother Ao Shuwen doesn't even have to strike. I could easily cripple you alone. Since you're asking for your death, I'll give it to you. As he spoke, he turned to Piaoling Xue and Hong Tianda at the side. Senior brother Hong Tianda, senior sister Piaoling Xue, he taunted us first, not that we're making things difficult for him. The deadpan Piaoling Xue slowly nodded. Fate determines who shall be killed in arena matches. Hong Tianda spat out the words without emotion. Fate determines who shall be killed in arena matches. The rules stated so, but very few people would kill each other in the arena. That's right. Fate determines who shall be killed in arena matches. Ao Shuwen drew his lips slowly as he looked at Wang Xian. With a tinge of ridicule in his eyes, he said, You're still not worthy of being my opponent. That's right. You are not worthy to fight with brother Ao. Just leaving it to me will do. Lin Xinjian lifted his head and yelled at Wang Xian. Haha, me too. Let me test the strength of the Dragon King, and see how much he has got for him to be so arrogant. Tong Xiuping burst out a clap of laughter as he took 2 steps forward. 6 of you just came forward together. Nice. I can kill a nest of you in one shot. Wang Xian stared at the 6 of them coldly. Wang Xian, stop! At this time, an anxious voice cut through the air from the sky. Mentor Yu's figure flew over. She was in a somewhat pitiful state when she stared at Wang Xian and yelled, Withdraw your arena and fight with them. The arena has already been set up. How can you withdraw it? Haha, Shuwen, Su Fa, go on. Kill that brazen brat of MT Fingyu for me. Another shrill sound came from the sky. With a similar pitiful look, Mentor Ling swept her cold gaze at Mentor Yu and Wang Xian. Her lips were drawn with murderous intent. And don't worry. Let us handle this. Ao Shuwen looked at Mentor Ling and replied with a smile. No, Wang Xian. Your strength. Mentor Yu, who came to Wang Xian, was looking worried as she tried to persuade Wang Xian once again. Mentor Yu, don't worry! Wang Xian shook his head at Mentor Yu. This is bad. Great senior sister, the handsome master is issuing a challenge to Ao Shuwen and the rest. If they really fight. The rest of the female disciples of MT Shui revealed a concerned look as they shouted to Piao Lingxue with tender voices. Rest assured, he's the master of the art of water refining. Without the slightest worry, Piao Lingxue cast her gaze to the MT Shui disciples and assured them in a soft voice. Art of water refining, oh yes. Handsome master possesses the art of water refining. Hey, wait. So his strength. These female disciples were slightly stunned as shocked looks slowly surfaced on their faces. The proficiency in art of water refining had something to do with the cultivator's strength. To become a master, his strength should be at least at budding realm. At the thought of this, the female disciples of MT Shui revealed more shocked looks. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.